Welcome back, everyone, to For the Win! I don't have a place to state just yet because, well, we're building it tonight. Welcome back to another adventure. Something before the adventure. We are For the Win. We play D&D on Wednesdays most of the time. And we just wrapped up our Martyria campaign. Hopefully you checked out that post-mortem Q&A session. Yeah, there were some technical issues like my apartment starting to flood and Ruby's internet connection just absolutely betraying her. Thanks, Xfinity. But hopefully tonight things are going to be a little bit more stable. Who knows? We'll see. Anyway, you know me. I'm your Dungeon Master, Nick. We've got 4 wonderful players this evening, and I'll tell you who they are in whatever order they choose.
Well, I don't think we have poems for tonight.
We do not.
No.
So hello, I'm Matilda.
And I'm Scott.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And we also have Ruby, who will be joining us shortly. Or Longley. I don't know. We'll see. So, what are we doing here tonight, y'all? What is this stream? How did I guess, pitch this to you those many months back?
You offered it as a way for us to be involved in the world building. Creation of a new place.
Simply put, that's the heart of it. I knew that we weren't going to continue in Martyria. I know we left the door not open, but at least unlocked on Martyria in our Q&A there. But we wanted something new, and so I put together the broad strokes of a world. But oh hey,
Hi.
our 5th and final.
Sorry. Took me a second. I'm back. Hope you can hear me okay.
And who are you?
My name is Ruby.
Hi, Ruby.
Hi.
Yeah. Woo.
I'm here to play some D&D.
Me too. And so I'm going to share with you all the broad strokes of that world. And then we're going to play a game. We've never tested out the structure of the game, so it could be a wild success, or it could be something that is full of chaos and breaking down at every turn. I don't know. We'll figure it out as we go. But it's going to give a chance for our players to build the world around them. So, without further ado, then let's meet the world. So, we don't know much about the old world and its denizens, but we can speculate. The Deadstone historians have pieced together that its climate was likely rather temperate, and it definitely had water. Well, probably. And from all accounts, it seems that there was soil fine enough for growing, and a number of beasts, large and small, must have existed, because the people of the old world certainly ate something. Probably. They lived, apparently, in family units of no more than 200-300. They almost definitely had anywhere from 0 to 5 legs, and most, it seems, had heads with faces and even hair. Most. They probably had something akin to jobs, dreams, and maybe even bathrooms. There was likely disagreement among them at some point, because that's inevitable, right? And they all liked hats. Okay, so we don't really know much about them at all, except that they like to build stuff out of rocks. Lots of stuff, lots of rocks, but not much else. And that's because the people of the old world are dead and gone, so none of them can tell us what it was really like, what life was like before everything changed, before magic came to be, before the old world died and was born again. So welcome, one and all, to the world of Wyrdgard. Not so long ago, but long enough to be shrouded in uncertainty and by processes or machinations unknown, but of course wildly speculated about the world of the firstlings of the people of yore ended. And it did so in the manner as is so often the case in stories of creation from peoples across space and time, a great world-ending flood. The deluge arrived and drowned the earth not in water, but zeal, or what us common folk might just call magic. Zeal is neither solid, nor liquid, nor gas. It's a substance of its own classification. Some say that it's what stars are made of, or that it's the same essence as the gods if they're out there. Others posit that it is just the life force itself, or maybe some byproduct of the universe's endless expansion. But it's all speculation, who's to say. However you like it, Zeal swallowed all of the world, and the firstlings and their civilizations were destroyed, wiped from the map. And when the deluge subsided, after how long, it's pretty difficult to say. Record keeping wasn't so great as the world was ending. But the earth drank the flood of Zeal down to its core and was remade. The flora, the fauna, and even the very stones and air of the earth were suffused with magic and irrevocably changed. Nature grew strange, it grew wild and vibrant, and most of all, it grew quickly. New sapient life burgeoned in myriad forms to fill it, creating civilizations anew across the land. The old world died with the deluge, but in its place was born Wyrdgard. And it is here in Wyrdgard that we embark on the next adventure of our game. Gone are the constraints of walled cities, manipulative gods, and false histories, and in their place are open landscapes, bizarre locales, and fantastical creatures in abundance. So tonight, as our way of introducing you all to the world, we are going to build it before your eyes. And to do so, we're going to play a game. Now, I told you that months ago I painted the broad strokes of the world, but since then, these four have been busy noodling, tinkering, thinking of ways to fill this space. Because the map, as you can see, has stuff, but it's got a lot of empty space, and it takes a lot to fill out a world. So, here is the game. Snash, if you can share those, share your screen so folks at home can see the rules. And this is how it's going to work. So I am going to introduce to everybody at home, one at a time, each of the 5 regions of our world. Then, our players are going to roll initiative. So there is still going to be dice rolling, but it's going to be very minimal tonight. And on their turn, each player will take an action to add something to that region of the world. It might give us a little bit of information, or it might give us a lot of information. It's up to them. So what can they use their action for? Broadly, there are 6 categories of actions. You might take the culture action, where you add a tradition, a celebration, a faith, a philosophy, something of that like to the region. Or instead, you might choose the ecology action to help shape the environment and its many life forms. You could, if you want to, take the geography action to build out landmarks or biomes or populate natural resources. If you want to get into the history side of things, take the history action. You can add a significant person or event from the past. The legend action, similar to the history action, allows you to create something, but perhaps not based in history and fact, but in myth and cryptozoology, in legendary artifacts or places. And finally, we have the society action, where you can add a settlement, a faction, some sort of point of interest, or an ongoing conflict to your region. So whatever you choose, players, you essentially have carte blanche to put your mark on the map. And so after our players take an action, we're not done there. They're going to describe their addition to the world, like I said, in as little or as much detail as they wish. But then they have to make a decision. Do they close their action and move on to the next person? Because they like what they came up with so much that they don't want anybody messing with it. Or do they leave it open instead and allow the rest of us to jump in, adding on to their creation? The choice is theirs. At the very least, they should be prepared to answer some questions. And maybe they don't know the answer and they'll have to make it up. But that'll be fun, won't it? So, once everybody has taken an action in the region and we've made it through so that they are all closed and all of our lingering questions are satisfied, if anybody wants to take a second action in the region because they really have something else that they need to add, they can. You know, because tonight's about you as players, of course. But don't worry about me, I'm going to be a part of it too. Before we move on to a new region, I will take an action of my own. It will look a little bit different, potentially, than the players' actions, as they will primarily serve as potential narrative hooks for players to explore. Hey, maybe they check them out, maybe they don't, maybe it's just existing in the periphery. we'll see as we play. So, players, any questions for how this is going to work?
Nope, sounds great.
When you have questions, ask them.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so without further ado then, let us jump to our first region in Wyrdgard. And what better place to begin than where, as far as we can tell, the old world ended. Firstfall, the former cradle of civilization, is composed of twin peninsulas that make up the center of the continent. The Western Peninsula Western Peninsula is filled with the ruins of once great cities, now overtaken by zeal, by the wilds. The ruins are still inhabited to varying degrees, though life within them is far from what it once was. Deadstone, by all appearances the seat of pre-deluge continental power, is the largest of the ruins, and is home to the Ephigean demarchy. Now, most of what is now known about the Firstlings comes from Deadstone's great halls. An old network of roads runs from it across the region and connects the ruins, but those see a lot less traffic than they must have in the old days, and because of which the lack of maintenance attracts all sorts of brigandry and ne'er-do-wells. On the eastern peninsula, around the Emerald Bay, are the bustling port cities of Bounty and Marwaldan, not built from ruins, but built from nothing, springing up after the deluge. And so who might you find in Firstfall? Well, just like all of the regions of the world, you might find just about anybody. But, in particular, the Ephigeans, also called stone folk or statue-kin, are densely concentrated here, as this is where they were created, before they were given life through zeal. But you'll also find plenty of Namasi and Teora, the beast and plant folk of this world, as well as Vethrin, our storm folk, and any of the other folks. On the eastern peninsula, you're going to find much of the continent's flood-touched and zealoids. These are humanoids that resemble very closely the humans, elves, and dwarves of the pre-Delusian world, but who were not obliterated by zeal, rather imbued and altered. So, that's a glimpse into Firstfall. Now, players, we need to roll initiative, because Firstfall needs some meat. So everybody, roll that d20. Matilda. All right.
Did I get a 2?
You sure did. So,
I got a
by-
3. Don't feel bad. I got a 3.
By my reckoning, that means we are going to start with Snash, then Scott, then Ruby, then Matilda. Also, if at any point you as players decide you want to pretend you have the alert feat and swap orders in initiative, you are welcome to do that at your discretion, so long as the people agree with you. Anybody dying to take Snash's spot as the first person to make their mark on the world?
I will if she really doesn't want to go first. but-
You can go ahead of me. I don't mind.
Oh, there it is. She's like, nah, no, I don't
Okay,
All
and we can
right.
swap the two of you in your ordering.
I would like to add a history action to
Okay.
Firstfall, and that would be a post-deluge, but pre-current day, probably not too long after the deluge. There was a war between the Ephigeans and the Zealoids. It
Okay.
was bloody as far as statues can bleed. And it did not end well for the Ephigeans.
Can you remind people who maybe didn't listen to our pre-world cards teaser, what are Zealoids?
Oh yeah, sure. Zealoids, very brief little overview, are goo baby people. As a joke to Scott there. They were underground originally. No.
So you're thinking of another.
Those
So
are the
the
Colliders. No, some people think they're monstrous. The Epigeans certainly did initially when they encountered them. That was why they targeted them. But they were physically changed by the Zeal. They don't look like people normally do anymore.
Yeah,
And they
like
have
sort of imagine like grotesque sort of mutations, additional limbs, bubbling skin that's all inflamed and puffed up to varying degrees.
That's my action. I will leave it open.
You would leave it open, which means we can add to this as we continue down the initiative. So, Scott, is there anything that you would either like to ask or to add to this idea of a bloody war between the Effigians and the Zealoids, post-deluge but pre-now?
I would say the Zealoids, through that period, took it upon themselves to smash every non-animated statue they could find. So this would have been a tactic of war of theirs, with the assumption that they might actually be destroying some future Effigians.
Okay, and that's a good point, Scott, because Effigians in our world, these statue folk, not all of them are awakened at the beginning of the deluge. Some continue to wake as time goes. Why and how? Nobody knows.
That'll be the end of my. Whatever. Is this an action? Is it officially an action?
You're just
It's a turn.
Your turn. Sure.
Right,
Okay.
that'll be the end of my turn.
Then, Ruby, is there any question or addition that you would like to make to this war? Okay. So Ruby passes, which is always an option. Snash, anything else to add? Question or addition?
Question: how strong is the negative discourse now between the two species?
Aside from probably some very small pockets of really strong negative feeling, the end result of the discourse is a heavy sense of shame on the Effigians' part, because they started this war out of prejudice and an attempt at rebuilding some sort of diplomacy with the Zealoids. As far as the Zealoids, there might be still some fear. Maybe Zealoid culture doesn't really like statues anymore. I don't know. But they did strike a winning blow, and they know that they could do it again if they needed to. So they probably aren't super worried about it.
You said that the Zealoids struck a.
Yeah. The
So
Zealoids were the
how
winners of
long?
that war.
And did this culminate in like a big climactic event?
Yes. This ended with. It's funny that Scott added this added them smashing non-animated statues, because that is the end of the war that I had written out before. Is that the Zealoids figured out the Effigians did not necessarily know how to awaken their sleeping brethren, and the Zealoids decided to remove that as an option. So there was a targeted attack in Deadstone about most of the unawakened statues.
Right.
And that was what convinced the Effigians to, hey, maybe this is a bad idea.
Look at them. They didn't take that as an opportunity to say, all right, well, now we're wiping every Zealoid off the face of this earth. They are an evolved species.
Most of them. There's some small pockets that probably still want to wipe all the Zealoids off the earth, but
Certainly.
there are not enough of them to do.
Okay. Awesome. Matilda, do you have anything that you want to add to this? I guess anybody at this point, if you have other questions or additions, we can. We gotta throw them in.
Sure. So, was this conflict, this war, limited to just these two races, or was anybody else drawn in as ally or foe of anyone else?
There would have been allies. There would have been groups that sort of were more natural allegiance with the Ephegians over the Zealoids. Their whole prejudice against and reason for starting this war was viewing these mutated beings as unnatural. So most likely, like the bestial races and the plant-based races would have been a natural ally with the Stone King. Everyone else probably just picked sides based on convenience or safety.
And as my addition to that, to answer, at least in part, Scott, for the Zealoids, the Flood-touched and Zealoids are kind of two sides of the same coin, as in terms of these people that would have otherwise been your typical D&D humanoids that were altered. Zealoids in grotesque, dramatic ways, whereas Flood-touched in what might be perceived as more like beautifying ways. And so I imagine a lot of Flood-touched have a big brother affinity for their less fortunate Zealoid kin, and would therefore come to their aid, not unilaterally, but certainly to some degree as an ally in this conflict. Okay. Anything else for Matilda's action?
Nope.
All right, then that is one action closed. We've added a war, everybody. Huzzah!
I like that the first thing in this game is that we added a war.
A war.
Added a war. Now we go next in initiative with a 17. That is Scott's. Scott, what are we adding to first fall?
Well, let me tell you about pigeons. So, no. So actually,
It's an inside joke.
I love it
It is.
already.
So this sort of fits in with Matilda's. So there is a growing industry in Marrow Dawn that revolves around the crafting of faux guards. So they are exquisitely detailed replicas that mimic the appearance of animated effigies. These figures are strategically placed outside of homes, businesses, even used in caravans as a deterrent to thieves and vandals. They are sometimes made of stone, but they are more often cast from molds, using a lighter weight hardening mixture that is then painted to look like stone. The booming trade has been fueled by the unsettling reality that most people can't immediately tell an Ephegian from a statue until it moves. This has given rise to the sad practice of hiring one lone Ephegian guard whose primary job is to pretend to interact with a handful of faux guards to give the appearance of a more impressive defensive complement.
Oh,
love
this
that.
is exceptional. Okay, so questions or so Scott, are you leaving this open or are you closing this?
I'll leave it open, of course.
Okay, then Ruby, do you have any questions for Scott about the faux guards of Marathon?
Okay, I do have a question. So, has it ever been that an Ephegian has interacted with what they consider a faux guard, and one of their Ephegian brothers is actually standing in front of them, woken up, and is like, "What are you doing?" and scared the shit out of them, basically?
I think that is highly likely,
Yeah.
depending on the realism of these faux guards. And the whole idea is they need to look as realistic as possible.
Now, the second one I have for you is, do some merchants actually just go and steal Ephegian statues and bring them back and sell them along with their faux guards, pretending like
So real statues.
like actual,
Kidnapping.
like they kidnap statues, like they're like looting in certain areas, and they kidnap these statues and they sell them alongside their faux guards that they've made, because hey, it's a little expensive to make this stuff, you know. It takes a little bit of craft, even if they're molds, right?
Yeah, I think some of this is really, I think, Matilda's realm. But as far as like, is there a trade now for creating real statues in the hope that they will awaken? Or, you know, these faux guards, are they in some way interchangeable with real stone statues? Is
Right.
a stone statue that's made with the intent of being a faux guard now capable of awakening.
Coming to life. Yeah, that's the last thing I was going to say is a folk guard can they possibly come to life? So yeah, just,
I think these are open questions. I don't have an answer.
And that's okay. We don't have to have a resolution to every question. We can leave some things to the mystery of the campaign. Smash, since you are the two, did you have any questions or additions to the Faux Guards of Marodon?
I'd love to make an addition.
Okay.
Specifically during holiday seasons, the delinquent youth tend to go around and decorate the Faux Guards in express, like, to make sure that people know, like, hey, this is fake, egg this house. Like, basically they're just being little shits, being
So it's
like,
outing,
hey,
outing the folk.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, 100%.
Yeah, love it.
I love that too. So, Scott, my clarifying question, just so I understand, these are totally inert statues, right? Okay, so they just have the appearance of an effigy, but they are lawn decorations.
Correct.
Then
So
could
it's-
my questions be the
but you
myths
could-
around them?
I'm sorry, Ruben?
So can my questions be almost like the myths that have come from this? Like there's been stories of effigies.
Like a
oh my
rumor.
gosh. Yeah, like rumors.
Sure.
Like
Oh, and I'm
there's myths / rumors, the questions I had, like that have spread throughout Wyrdgard, and like people are like they will even ask their effigians that like join them or like join their house, like, have you ever actually like has one come to life in front of you and stuff? And so it becomes like this recurring rumor and myth.
And I imagine the people that manufacture and sell them encourage that sort of speculation that, hey, you could have actual free labor, or that you could, selling the promise that it's going to be more than just what it is.
Right? Yeah.
I think that the Effigians would be kind of twofold on that. One, like, they'd probably play into the myth that, like, these are actually awakened statues just for fun. But they would probably not be fans of the free labor aspect. Also, to your question of people like stealing potential Effigian statues to then sell as Faux Guards, they might have tried. I don't imagine a lot of people got away with it.
Right, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
The Effigians very heavily guard their potential future
right, like,
very heavily.
There's rare rumors that, like, certain salespeople or certain groups have they've gone and succeeded against the Effigians and have like taken the inert statues that have not come to life. Something like that, maybe.
There's probably a bragger or two, like snake oil salesman, who claims it. It most likely has not happened.
Cool, good.
Yeah, I would see most of these would be made in, they would be made to resemble an effigian that is in some way been employed to guard something. So,
Which is probably a very common occupation.
likely so, but a statue of a woman playing a harp, that's been stolen probably wouldn't fit in as a faux guard. But who knows?
Very nice. Love it. Anything that we need to add to this, or are we ready to close it?
I'm good to close
Can I add a thing kind of along Snash's way? Effigians probably have their own little graffiti that they like to do on Faux Guards, just to as a secret thing between them of like marking this as a fake statue. So there's like, I don't know what the symbol would be, some silly symbol that they would carve onto it when they encounter them.
They have an innate way, almost a smell of knowing that a statue is real or not.
Yes.
Would it be considered a sixth sense then almost, or would it truly be like a recognizable thing within them that they always know?
They have ways of like communicating with the statues that are
Nice.
so
And
they would
none of-
immediately know this was not a real effigy.
Yeah, none of the Faux Guard are versed in stone tongue, so that would be a dead giveaway.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Awesome addition, Scott. I love the Fogard of Morodon. So now we move to Ruby. Ruby, what would you like to add to first one? Could go to Smash next if you need a little bit more time to think.
If Smash is ready, yeah, that would be great. Just a little bit more time to
think. Okay. Smash, what do we add to the world of First Fall?
We added a legend. Throw this
up. Don't throw up in here.
Throw it up in here. Here too.
All right. Should we do full screen or small?
What was the decision? Full screen or
Let's do full screen. Why not?
All right.
Yeah, take the full screen.
All right. I'm adding a legend about dragons.
I'm so excited.
All right. I'll read it because it's short. Long ago, dragons ruled the sky of Wyrdgard, bonded in harmony with the firstlings. Together, dragon and rider brought balance and peace to the world. But this golden age ended with the Great Deluge, a cataclysm that wiped the firstlings from existence. Overwhelmed by grief, the dragons ceased to lay eggs and began to fade from the world. Within a few centuries, their kind was believed to be extinct, their mournful songs silenced. Legends, however, tell of hidden nesting sites deep in the earth, crystalline caverns pulsing with faint magic. Some claim a few dragons still slumber in these depths, waiting for the return of those worthy to reawaken the ancient bond. You too can be a dragon rider.
Yeah, you just have to go to the Dragon Academy of Fourth Wing.
Oh gosh.
Nick got it! Nick got it!
Whatever that place is called. Okay, love a legend of dragons. I mean, it is Dungeons and Dragons after all. So,
it's okay though. The dragons are already dead. We're making it so Scott can still never fight one.
I'll leave it open, just within the idea that this is a legend.
Yes. So nothing that anybody adds to this would be definitive, except for maybe like a group's interpretation of this legend. So then that goes to Matilda. Is there anything that you would like to add to this legend?
I would love to add to this. In the Sea of Grief, just off the shore near Summerstone, there is a strange-looking, potentially rock formation, potentially the ribs of a long-dead dragon that sticks out of the sea.
Ooh, I was thinking Nessie, but I like where you went with that better.
Oh, I like Nessie too. There's a water dragon.
There could be a, I don't know, no one's seen her officially, but there's a strange rock formation that the locals believe to be the bones of a long dead dragon sticking out of the sea.
Love it.
And that's near the Summerstone, right? You said?
Yeah. Because I feel like the Sea of Grief is the perfect place for that.
Okay, Scott, anything to add?
I'm gonna pass. I'm good.
Okay. And Ruby, anything to add to the dragon lore?
The many claim to see the bones of the dragon along the edge of the coastline in Summerstone. Many also say they have ventured to the small islands that reside in the Sea of Grief and claim to find solid stones shaped like eggs.
Ooh,
that resembling dragon eggs.
Like
and there's some
eggs?
broken ones maybe that are just shells, but they think they're like, maybe it's shells, maybe it's eggshells.
And many claim to have seen stone formations within the island that look like fossilized dragon bones in a sense, that have like partially covered by rocks or like clay and mud. And it's all on that little island, the one you have on the map, Nick, that's right under Summerstone, kind of to the right. It's all those like little islands right there. That's right where
I
Yeah.
imagine those islands then they didn't have a name, but it's going to be very much tied to this idea of like this is the epicenter of a lot of that dragon lore.
Yeah.
All of the local teens wear little necklaces made out of what is allegedly pieces of the eggshells.
Oh, yeah. And Moradon and probably in Moradon especially, they actually have like significant like sleazy sellers that sell that as like a tourist type attraction.
There's
Oh,
a
yeah.
bag of
far.
rocks. There's a bag of
Yeah.
rocks guy who's like, these are fossilized dragon eggs.
It's
I'll
like
meet
it's like
him
what
shortly.
people. It's like the
Mhm.
claims with rhino horn. It's like powdered dragon egg.
If you sleep with it under your pillow for 60 days, it
Yeah.
might hatch.
Or like the bones
Mark
of
your
the dragon,
mark
or
your
the
thresholds
turtle or
with
stuff.
it. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
Fertility. Keep it in your
Mhm.
bed. Like,
add it to your breakfast every day.
Oh my gosh.
and
But
it's
put it
just
in
a
your
rock.
enemy's breakfast.
just
That's
a
rock. It's just ground up rock.
Hey, for an Effigian, that's one of their 3
Yeah.
square. Okay, awesome. Anything else for the dragon legend?
I'm good with closing.
Okay, then Ruby, have you had sufficient time to think of something?
Yeah, it's really silly.
That's
Silly's
okay.
good. Silly is good.
This is a mythical artifact found
Okay, so another legend.
within the first fall, and that's where everyone says to have seen it. Within somewhere within the first fall area, there is a stone, and embedded in this stone is a spork.
A spork? A spork stone?
Spork,
Like the
Axe.
TikTok.
exactly like the
Like the
TikTok.
TikTok I sent you.
Just like the TikTok we got in the group.
Yes.
So, and it is, and I'll send you the video if you really want, Nick.
I do.
We'll send it over. Go ahead, Snash your Matilda. If y'all have it, send it to Nick.
Oh,
Put
absolutely.
it in the Discord. It's just like, think of Excalibur broadsword, but
Hmm.
like half the head, like half of the lower sporks are embedded into the stone. It's like a long handle.
Now, question. How can they tell it's a spork if it's embedded?
Because you can see the first 2 tines of it.
Okay,
like,
so you
it's
can see the
rounded
rounded
head.
part.
It's
Like, you
Okay.
can
embedded,
see the
like,
rounded
lengthwise
head. It's like,
sticking
yeah,
out.
it's embedded weirdly. Like it doesn't look like it's like stuck into it. Like you can see that it's obviously a spork.
The spork in the stone.
Spork in the
I
stone.
am sending this into the Discord.
Okay.
now.
All right.
Sounds
I
like-
wanted it. As soon as I started thinking hard, I was like, what's something just silly? I just want something silly.
Well, and it sounds like something that is potentially aligned to your character.
yeah, exactly.
Does.
Well, you know, it's
Okay,
all chefs that are traveler chefs within Wyrdgard seek to find the spork in the stone. But no one
Okay.
has succeeded in finding the spork in the stone. This is the myth of the spork in the stone. And I will forever call it the spork in the stone.
Excellent. Ruby, do you want to leave this open or close this off?
Totally open for them.
Totally open. Okay. Then is there anything that you would like to add to that top of the order? Is Matilda?
Oh no. There is in every major inhabited area there is at least one tavern that is themed after this spork and has a mock one in front of it for people to attempt to pull out of a stone.
Makes sense.
It's like Disney World. It's great. I love it already. Watch Nosh just be running around. It's like, we gotta go in this tavern, guys. They have the spork in the stone. They have
Nosh
the
tries
spork in the
every single one.
stone. Every single one. Everywhere we go. Nosh just wants to succeed one day. The spork will be his.
Scott,
Sorry.
anything to add to the spork stone myth?
So question, is there like an accompanying myth about who is actually going to be worthy to wield it?
Ooh.
Do you become king of first fall?
I'm sorry. If we were kind of keeping with the chef theme, it's like the most accomplished chef will be successful. The ones that have succeeded in acquiring all the ingredients and succeeded in completed like a legendary action. Maybe that's the rumor. Like something that's really helped improve Wyrdgard are the ones and only that can draw the spork from the stone.
Nice.
All others do not succeed because they want it for greed. You know, it's like they want it, like anyone who is able to draw it has a true heart to continue down the culinary path of a true chef. Maybe something like that. I don't know. You can make it up as you want, Scott.
Can
believe in
I add something, Ruby?
Yeah, go for it.
this legend includes like the measure of that legendary accomplished chef is something called the bite of broken hearts, in that it is a bite of food so amazing that anybody who eats it is forever ruined on any other food for the rest of their life. It would have to reduce the people that eat it to bereavements, to tears, to misery.
Everything after that bite, that one bite of broken hearts, will taste like ash in that being's mouth for the rest of their existence.
Okay, we just created a new villain.
Is her name Ruby?
I succeeded.
Goodness. Excellent. Snash, anything for the Sporkstone?
Let it go. It's beautiful as is.
Hell yeah. Okay. So we have now made it through with one action for each of you. Does anybody have a second action that they would like to take in First Fall? It is not required, but if you have something like, we need this, then...
A bonus action or an action action?
I mean, it would be a separate action, yeah. We can call it a bonus action.
Well, you wrote bonus actions, like you're limited to 3.
Oh, yeah. Just because we could spend probably 12 sessions doing this.
Yeah,
so as one of your bonus actions, since everybody
Here's
gets
a question
one.
for you then, Nick.
Yeah.
Are we, after this session, if we come up with something we want to throw into the lore for the world, are we allowed to still add some stuff?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Oh, wait,
it is not going to be a closed-off world.
It's like, do I need to get all of the ideas out now?
This whole campaign is about sporks. That's
Yes. Nick, you need to watch the video. Like, while we pause, I will. To go watch.
We'll watch it.
Because something else to consider is we don't have to get all of the ideas that we have out right now, because we're not going to see all of everything in our first campaign in Wyrdgard. So some ideas might come up later, or they might be relevant for this campaign. But yeah, please, if you think of more things later on, send them away, or send them to us, not away.
Send them away.
Get him out of here.
So with that, does anybody want to take a bonus action for First Fall? Okay, Snash.
All right, I got. It's a tradition. Let me add it to.
Ooh.
Would you mind zooming in there a little bit, Snash?
Even more?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, I can
It's called. It's funny because I feel like we all chose Moradon as like our hubs. So it's a tradition called the Weaving of Names. Every decade, the people of Moradon gather for the weaving of names, a tradition where individuals contribute a thread to a massive tapestry that chronicles the community's history. Each thread represents a personal story, achievement, or challenge, and participants are encouraged to share the meaning of their thread with others. The tapestry is displayed in the town square, and each new section is woven over the course of a week by skilled artisans. The event includes storytelling sessions where elders recount key moments from previous sections of the tapestry, connecting the past and the present.
I love this so much.
I do too. It's a beautiful tradition.
Everybody gets one little thread.
So I'm jumping out of order here, but with a question: is the tapestry always on display, or is it only during the specific celebration?
I feel like it's brought out and it's like out while it's being worked on and while they're talking about it.
Gotcha. Has anybody read Gathering Blue?
Yes.
From the Giver Omnibus. Giver? It's just kind of giving me that sort of vibe, which I love.
Okay.
So, opening or closing, Snash?
I can completely open.
Okay. Then, do we have any additions or questions? For this part of it, I guess we don't really need to go in order. As we have them, do it.
Matilda?
I have an addition. There is a bardic college whose highest focus is being able to tell the entire story of the tapestry for the city that college is in. and that it, from the very first thread, having it all memorized and being able to weave that entire story. And it's
Okay.
viewed as a huge achievement.
Hold on to that, because that's going to tie in with my action for this world,
Awesome.
or for this region. So just know that that
Okay.
place, that location,
Yeah,
I already know where it is.
cool. Really?
Okay, so there are specific clans that have their journey to the weaving of names as a coming of age journey that has to happen. And it's a little weird, and Nick, you can correct me if you want. There's a spider clan that their job as they reach a certain age is to travel by themselves or together, depending on how they go, but it's a journey into adulthood to provide their thread for others in addition, so that people that have their strings. And it's become such a tradition that it's not just one spider clan. There's actually like multiple spider clans that come to First Fall, and that they're the ones that end up slowly adding their thread. So it has a touch of the deluge magic within the spider's thread that goes into this tapestry. So when you see it, yes, it's a gorgeous tapestry, but if you look at it just right, just the right lighting, you can see the shine and the shimmer.
Ooh.
I wasn't sure, because I just was like a journey. There's got to be something that where somebody journeys to this. Like this happens, every year, every 5 years or something. They come, and like it's an even bigger deal of the weaving of names. Take it with you as you will. Just thought that was kind of cool.
I love that.
So I would say there needs to be some keepers of the tapestry. More importantly, the keepers of the vision of the tapestry. Otherwise, threads will not actually be cohesive in sort of chronicling the community. So it seems there should be some sort of a conclave of historians and artisans and in an almost religious-like sect looking at this as some sort of an artifact that needs to be preserved and needs to be guided through time. So I don't keepers of the vision, something like that.
What about the threadbearers?
Threadbearers, great.
Yep, that'd be good.
I have like 3 more like ideas to add to this shit.
It's okay. Let's keep going. It's a good idea. I love it. Snash, really, you did. It's awesome.
All right, Nick didn't say no, so I'm going to keep adding random things.
Go for it.
One being that there is a legend that because of the power from these spiders that have woven into these tapestries, there's a legend that if you can read the tapestry properly, there's some like powerful magic to unlock. No one's been able to do it. It's just a legend, but there is this belief that these tapestries hold some unknown power. 2 being kind of in the vein of like Dothraki style, where if you lose, you have to cut your hair. If a city was conquered in some way, then the victors would cut the tapestry into pieces and send pieces to other cities as a warning or a brag of their power of taking over the city.
So are we expanding this across all of First Fall? Because I put this just for Maradon.
Which I think makes sense if we keep it localized.
Okay.
To specifically this one place.
Well, then
so
maybe expanding off that, you could say that instead of them like tearing up a tapestry, if it's still in Moradon and it's the weaving of names is specific to that particular town, they will go there after conquering, and they are given by the keepers, the threadbearers.
They have to pay tribute to the tapestry.
They pay tribute, and they can either choose 2 actions. 1, incorporate the war and say how they were triumphant, but leave the history of who they, triumphant. Or 2, partially destroy their own history and then put in their information and add more details and like expand it into their territory. You know what I mean? Like instead of like
how badly do you think someone would have to be fucked up to have their thread pulled out of the tapestry?
And that's why it's always a choice, and like people judge the conquerors based on.
Well, I almost wonder if the tapestry gets threaded over top of the previous, so it becomes almost 3-dimensional.
It's only done once every 10 years.
Oh, okay.
So it's only once every 10 years do they actually do the weaving of names. So it's like a very big event that happens.
And it's 10 years of history that get weaved in at the same time.
So it's like it comes to the weaving of names, and you get your thread, and it's every person has only one thread, and it has to come with whatever the one thread. Like the one thread for someone might be like the birth of a child, right? Or
okay.
something else. And I love that idea too, that when like if you live in Morodon and you pass away, you have like for your family to take your final thread at the next weaving of names or something like that.
That's a good
Very
one.
nice.
I wanted to expand a little that even though the spider clans provide their threads, and many races and species actively use those threads within the weaving, many other creatures, such as horses as an example, use threads from their tails, so their tail hairs, and they weave it in. I'm trying to think of a few other creatures, like any ones that have like longer hair, or they braid their hair, like the Fox clan will take their hair over time and they'll like weave it into their own type of thread and bring that with them every 10 years, depending on what their clan wants to add. So each say it for me, Nick. Say this.
Namasi.
Thank you, the Namasi. Each Namasi, depending on what type of species they are, has their own style of tradition. Though they love the spider clan and appreciate what they've been doing to help expand this, they try to incorporate a bit of themselves into it as well as part of their traditions. And some of them probably do occasionally use the spider clan. It depends on if they're like a part of their own clan or like they've broken off. You know, there's alternate internal conflicts. But I think that would be a common theme that they would see every 10 years, is many of the Namasi coming with their own threads that were made from themselves, because they would have more power and impact into their own storytelling, you know?
Makes sense.
I love this stuff.
I like it.
Okay. We ready to close the weaving of names?
Let's go.
Okay. Anybody else using a bonus action for first fall?
You said you had something, Nick.
Oh, I do. So I'll end with my action. If there's no
I'm good.
additions. Okay. Then this is how we will end the first fall region. Before Effigian scholars unearthed the dead stone slab, and when Bounty and Morodon were still in their infancy, a star burned across the sky of First Fall for 5 days and nights. It captivated the hearts and minds of all who witnessed it. Was it the fabled return of the ancients? Was it the end of days? Was it a second deluge? Speculation ran wild alongside emotions. On the 5th night, the star fell to Earth near the Slate Bottom River, and there was a race to the impact site. Flood touched of the area were the first on the scene, and they quickly sequestered the star from outsiders. They built a tower around the site and closed it to the rest of the world. And before long, around the tower formed the Starfall Conservatory, Wyrdgard's preeminent academy of the arts and the arcane. Little is known of the conservatory outside of broad speculation and hearsay, but the one thing anybody could tell you with absolute certainty is that the conservatory and its tutors and proctors are responsible for most of the region's, if not the world's, innovations. And as such, they hold great political and economic sway throughout the continent. For over a century, the conservatory's doors were closed tightly to the outside world. Nonetheless, the city of Starfall has always attracted the attention of the many would-be wizards, thaumaturges, and bards of Wyrdgard, as it has garnered a reputation as a nexus of the incredible and the bizarre. Within the conservatory and beyond, High Tutor Constancy was beloved throughout his long tenure. His successor, Prosper, however, is everything he was not. Young, blunt, intrepid, and ambitious. And in a move unprecedented and unexpected, she announced last year that at the start of the upcoming term, the doors of the conservatory would open to a select few members of the public. Who among the continent's most magically inclined could possibly resist? So, we have First Fall in the books. I believe it is high time we take our first break.
All
Huzzah.
right. We'll be back soon, stream.
All right, everybody, we are back. Wasn't that fun? It worked out so much better than I could have even hoped. We now have a richer first fall, and we're going to give our other regions the same treatment. So we are going to move south across the Sea of Grief and maybe the Land of Dragons to the Brumal landscape of Southreach. Now, few inhabits this land, as the formidable ice knife peaks form a natural barrier to all but the most intrepid adventurers who brave the treacherous moon pass. Even those capable of flight find it difficult to access Southreach just because of how absolutely bitter, cold, bitter the land is, and most would rather die than ever step foot there. But in the center of Southreach lies the queendom of Novovarthis, the principal settlement in the region and the adopted homeland of the people known as the Sieve. Now, the Sieve are, simply put, moon wasps. They're bee folk who abandoned their homeland, the Moon of Varthis, in the relatively near recent past after it ceased to be habitable. And the cold, desolate land of Southreach was a natural destination as it mirrored their cold landscape on this moon. And so at the western end of Southreach, you'll see on the map, span this cluster of islands called the Churning Isles. This is an ever-changing chain of desolate sea ice and glacial mountains and the occasional pocket of forest. And the Isles are home to a place called the Geist Wilds, where legends say the souls of the damned wander for eternity. And even the Sieve, even though they are the masters of Southreach, they tend to steer far clear of this space. So, that's right, folks. In our world, cold is not north, cold is south. What? So, we are going to again roll initiative, everybody.
Maybe I
But
won't get it.
like last time, if you all want to use your alert feat and change order, you are welcome to.
Nah, I'll just stay at the bottom.
Okay,
I just
so
stay at the bottom.
relatively similar order here. We are going to start with Scots.
All right. Stretching 90 miles across the this is a geography action, by the way. So stretching 90 miles across the tundra of Southreach, the Frozen Scar is a massive canyon carved deep into the earth, plunging nearly 10,000 feet at its deepest point. Its sheer icy walls gleam in the pale light, fractured with veins of black rock and glittering frost. The canyon's bottom is a frozen labyrinth of jagged ice flows, shifting crevasses, and hidden caverns teeming with peril. For most travelers, the only safe passage across the scar is the Glacial Span, a single ancient bridge near its midpoint, said to be built by forgotten hands. Those who dare to descend into the scar must brave treacherous terrain, biting winds, and deadly creatures that call its depths home, including the elusive trench worms said to coil in its frozen shadows. The Frozen Scar is both a barrier and a challenge, daring only the boldest adventurers to risk its dangers in pursuit of glory, treasure, or simply a quicker route across Southreach.
Very nice. The Frozen Scar. Whereabouts is this positioned in Southreach?
So I would think it's not in the mountains. It's more in almost where that, I guess it's a river system.
Okay.
So it's potentially that river actually runs through the scar at some points.
So you're saying a river runs through it?
A little bit. Hate that movie.
Okay. Ooh, I like that. And especially with the Sieve capable of flight, it wouldn't pose as much of a barrier, but for anybody else, that's good defense for them.
And that's open to anybody to contribute.
Open. Additions or questions about Scott's Frozen Scar?
Are we going in initiative order?
Sure. Matilda, you'd be next.
There is a breed of scarab called a jewel beetle that lives in this scar. Due to the lack of other life, they have learned to ingest whatever they can find. If you can manage to catch one of these jewel beetles, they are incredibly valuable. They seem to be made of some crystalline diamond-like type material that can fetch a high price at markets further north, but might cost your life if you try to get them.
Very nice. The jewel beetle. What about you, Snash?
Got a question for Scott. Is there a troll on the bridge?
Under the bridge.
Is there a toll for the bridge?
Is the bridge itself the troll?
I wouldn't envision that anybody maintains control over passage of the bridge, but maybe, maybe there are some brigands that try occasionally, but I think that passage is so important to the region that it needs to be kept clear.
Wait, can the bridge itself be sentient?
Can it, Scott?
That's a question for
You
you.
can say no, and you can say yes.
I'm going to say no to that. I think the bridge would be unbelievably long and huge. I mean, if you want it to have a voice, I guess
Blame the
it could,
train.
but it's not going to get up and walk away, if that's what you mean.
No, it's not moving. It's not. I'm not saying like it can move, but
So
like
it is ancient, I would
rather
imagine.
than a troll exacting a toll, the bridge itself demands a price.
I could see that, sure.
Some sort of magic to the bridge at the very least.
Everything is zeal infused, so sure.
All right, no troll.
Troll? No. Toll? I don't know.
Maybe.
Depends on the day.
Depends on the
Alright.
day. Depends on the mood of the bridge.
Ruby, anything for the frozen scar or the glacial span?
Trenchworms. Trenchworms have the most delicate meat.
Since
And
they're
the most
delicious.
tastefully delicious meat that you'll probably ever imagine. And the thing about trenchworms is they're not small. They're never small. They're always bigger than you could think. And the biggest of them are the most rarest and delicate that you'll ever find. And what happens is the bravest of adventurers will go out. Bravest of chefs will go out to try and conquer that, but only if they dare, because they are within the cavern. They are down deep within these gorge cold, within its frozen reach. But when one of them is killed, it echoes through the South Reach, and sea flock to the edge of the ravine to celebrate, because it is a bounty that is shared amongst all. So truthfully, you won't ever see the death of a trenchworm, maybe 10, 20 years, especially now. There's not as many strong warriors within the South Reach would dare go into the trench to conquer them. But when it does happen, it is such a celebration on the edge of the trench that many challenge adventurers when they come to South Reach to go into the trench to kill a trenchworm. It is a common joke / pestering that is seen.
It's like
throughout
that
the
like
areas.
old college like thing.
Yeah.
Like, try to get something on the library tower sort of.
Yeah,
Dare.
it's that old challenge that just always is repeated. And along with that, the jewel beetles, valuable, but there is a recipe.
Vicious. Valuable.
So rare.
Vicious.
And delicious.
Yeah, but the thing about this rare recipe, it actually can benefit you if you are able to kill and accomplish it. Because it doesn't
Righteous.
just include a jewel beetle, it includes the meat of the trenchworm. So
It's
Nick, do
South Reach Fair.
do with that what you will, as a myth of the combination of trenchworm and jewel beetles to becoming, it could be ability score improvement,
You don't need to tell me what it's going to be. I'll figure it out.
You'll figure
Okay,
it out.
Gobblefunk.
It's
Okay,
gonna
Gobble.
be. I know what it's going to be. Your arm falls off. That's what it's going to be.
Exactly. You become. That's how trenchworms are reproduce.
Yeah.
You eat this
Anyways.
jambalaya.
I've been reading way too many Dune books to not try
Yeah.
to make them into the sandworms. So
I thought of sandworms, but I was like, but what if they were yummy? Because I don't think the people in
Yeah.
I
Dune
mean,
eat the sandworms.
spice is delicious. All right,
Spice
just
is
saying.
delicious.
Scott,
Anyways.
adjustments, additions, changes
Nope,
to your
love
scar.
it. Love it all. That's great.
Okay. Then are we ready to move to our next action?
Yeah.
All right, Matilda.
All right. With this frozen tundra, there's a surprising crop that does very well down here, and it would be a varietal of white grape. Nova Varthus is known for a very tasty and yet rare dessert wine called Icevine that the Civ allocated certain amounts to be able to go through the Moon Pass, and the rest they enjoy for themselves.
Love it.
Open to add if anyone wants to. I'm sorry, final thought there would be a yearly like a seasonal at harvest season, there would be a full moon festival associated with the first harvest of these grapes to make this ice vine.
Question. So this wine, is it better served cold, or is this a wine that would be transportable, room temperature, no issues there?
It's transportable. It's not going to spoil at room temperature, but it is tastier when chilled.
Can I add something to it?
Sure.
Instead of it being that it's never warm or cold, what if it's always cold? That even though it gets processed and the bottles are shipped,
As
Worldbuilding.
soon as you open the bottle and it's always chilled.
it's always chilled.
Ooh.
Like it's because the wine itself is chilled. It's not the bottles. It's the ice wine itself has the innate properties of the south reach of the cold.
Okay.
That was what I was going to ask to add. So there you go.
Snash?
I was going to ask if, like, possibly the grapes cannot survive outside of Southreach. Like, if
Oh
you
no, they
were
need
to-
this cold.
But if you were to pick them and try and transport them out of the region, they would spoil instantly.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I like
like-
that.
Wine can go out.
It
because
cannot
it's
be
being
manufactured
processed.
anywhere else.
Yeah.
I like that too.
So I can't steal the grapes. And,
Nope.
oh.
Sorry, Nash.
You have to make it while we're in Southreach.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the wine is still like the most gorgeous, probably delicious.
and
thing
there are very limited amounts that they're willing to export out of Southreach. There's
Ice wine.
It's a
slushies.
rarity. Yeah, it's a huge rarity.
Love it. Okay, are we good on our ice wine? Then let's go to Snash. Your action.
All right. Oh, let me share. Let me share in here too. Made a wind wary.
Mm.
Excuse me.
So a wherry is a type of boat. But it's a wind wherry, so it flies in the air. They were originally crafted in Southreach, but they're all... I don't know how this will work, if that's okay or not, Nick. If they're across Wyrdgard too.
So I guess how do they function? Because that will influence.
So they are piloted by Gale veteran.
Okay.
Sometimes others can pilot them depending on their skill set. Like maybe some druids could possibly pilot them. It's like a combination of natural winds and magic to pilot a wind wherry. I also dropped this if you guys want to read it. It's a little longer. Let's see. So, for instance, people quite often use like wind wherries, like if they're going down and around the churning isles just to avoid so much of the volatile sea that's down around the churning isles. Let's see, what else do I have in here? They're often adorned with colorful patterns or sigils representing their pilot's origin or trade, making them as diverse and vibrant as the people who pilot them. So, like, maybe there's an ice wine windwary. And it's very distinctive in its patterning and its coloring. Like, maybe they paint it all white or something like that. And I'll leave that open.
Okay, can I jump in with a limitation?
Okay.
So, totally fine if these exist throughout Wyrdgard, but just due to like the nature of like how they would need to be constructed and the requirements to operate them, this wouldn't be like fetching a cab. This would be need to be something that would be expensive and like limited in terms of like there's not like one every 20 minutes to hit on. Okay, so these are like a luxury. This is not your day-to-day commutes.
Could we expand on that a little bit? What if the construction of these wherries was lost following the deluge, and everyone that has been found that it functions and operates currently throughout is imbued and ancient?
So they would be post deluge. So they're not.
Yeah.
Okay,
they're not.
I just wanted
because
to
they're
the
zeal
veteran.
powered. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and something like something wooden like that would not have survived.
Well, if you imbue enough magic in something, I'm pretty sure it can survive anything.
But there was
Well,
no
but-
magic.
Exactly.
Oh, sorry. Okay. I see where you're going.
Can I add a thing to your windwaries here, Snatch?
Yeah.
There's people, even with it being easier than sailing with the turning aisles and everything, there's a decent amount of people who either can't afford or don't want to risk sailing on one of these windwaries because there is a legend of a notorious pirate who captains a windwary and sinks others.
So what you're saying is you want to create sky pirates.
As the possibility of sky pirates.
I would
exists.
assume in something like this that would exist.
In addition
I
to
can have
that,
sky shanties.
one other thing that would make some people hesitant to board a windwary is that there is a notorious crash somewhere over the Sea of Grief in the
You get a
history
Bermuda
of Wyrdgard.
Triangle.
That's the wherry was never recovered, but there's the belief that part of it, because it was one of those that was had its own special flair to it, that did wash up along the coast near Summerstone, that led people to believe that it did go down, and so kind of like how the Hindenburg explosion put people off of blimp travel. This would discourage some people, but certainly not everybody.
We got the Bermuda Triangle and a windwary pirate. I'm on board.
Are you okay with those, Nash?
I made sky boats. That's all I wanted.
This means I can have sky shanties.
Yes.
So is it possible that larger galleon-sized ones were used for military purposes?
So the way I have it crafted, so if you look up what a wherry is that they're relatively small boats. And
Fancy little opti.
because it's typically only piloted by one person, something like really, really big, I don't think would be necessarily capable or like able, like, because most of it's powered by the magic of individuals. Like that would be excessively draining. Like you would need like 20, 30, 40 people to do that.
And
That's
so
what-
maybe
yeah.
to that extent, there could be perhaps somewhere in the world that there is like a luxury the cruise version of this, where they have gathered 100 Gale Vethrin, but yeah, that would be like the exorbitantly expensive
We have
trip around Wyrdgard.
similar thoughts, very different paths, because my thought was that maybe there is some potential conqueror in the world that has been working on a large version of a wind wary that
Sure.
I
they
kind
haven't
of
quite perfected yet.
went with too, because I looked into the Gale veterans specifically for this, that they're kind of more nomadic in the way that they live. So a Gale veteran would probably like to be by themselves in their boat and not, doing too much as far as like necessarily interacting with people. Like maybe their only thing that they do is transporting ice wine,
Okay.
But that's their little gig. They're
like
like a cross country motorcyclist. Like they just, do their thing.
The wind
Very nice.
waries are the motorcycle gangs of
Yes.
Southreach.
Hell yeah.
Yep.
Yes. And all of the symbols, like there are some that have the same, like a motorcycle gang, like patches. They have the same symbol on the sails.
It's like the emojis in your name on TikTok.
Yes. I like that.
Other ideas on the wind waries?
I'm gonna find a shanty.
Okay, then let's go to Ruby.
You muted, love.
You're on mute, Ruby.
Thank you for letting me know. I've been writing my notes and updating them as I've been thinking about it based on what you guys were saying. So I have two, but I'm going to focus on one. So in the Turning Isles, this chain of islands in the desolate sea, with their icy and glacial mountains, there lives a flower. And it is called, I'm using it, it's an orchid. But this flower is a parasitic flower. And it attaches itself to the dead and survives off death and decay. And if you traverse through the Churning Isles, should you stumble upon the orchids, you must be wary, because even the smallest scratch will invite the orchids to attach themselves to you. And should you not have them removed as quickly as possible or burn them away, they will take over and kill you, and your body will become their garden and their ground, and you will die. This is both legend and fact of the Churning Isles. And it can be taken as any way you want, because not many people go to the Churning Isles.
So we've got some vampiric orchids. I love it.
So they're actually, there is a branch of orchids that I'm thinking about. They're these red-stemmed orchids, and they look really pretty, actually. They look like they would just be a normal flower. They're called, I don't know how to say it. I'm just going to send it to you guys in the chat. I'm terrible at saying things that I don't understand. But they are very impressive. No, I have not actually. I should though. So that was my first one. So it is open, and I do have a second one if you want me to go, but I can wait for my other action if that's what needs to be done. I'm totally cool with that.
Thoughts on these parasitic orchids that's both attached to the dead and hasten you to your death?
I'm gonna make them a little worse.
Okay.
Their pollen is frequently, if they've been harvested or any are able to harvest it, their pollen is used as a sleep-inducing drug because it will make you want to just lay down and take a nap in the flowers.
Nice.
Love to add, if you'll like this, Ruby.
Okay.
If you receive any of these flowers, dead, it's a direct threat on your life.
It's like
it's a horse head in your bed.
Oh,
so let's make that as part of the myth, in the sense that there's assassins and guilds and warring clans that send these to each other.
use like imagery of them as their
Yeah.
symbology. And...
They've become they. And
Oh,
some
like the
people say they're a
badasses
symbol.
have it tattooed on their throat.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
It's
Very
become
nice.
a cultural symbol throughout Wyrdgard that this flower is.
Yeah.
There is
This
a
is
very underground
the sleeping
trade of
dead.
their seeds.
Okay.
And remember, the thing about them though is they only thrive in like decay and destruction. So even though the seeds can be transported anywhere, the true place they thrive the best is the Churning Isles or a dead body. It's the truth of it. Love
Okay.
it.
So would you allow for some there's some knowledge that can be gained by Teora in particular, since they are also plants, to be able to handle these things safely? And
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and be able to sort of, maybe they are the arbiters in some way of how they are actually, merchants, how they're actually
I could
traded?
definitely see that. I think the Teora would be the most successful in handling them at any time. That you could even say that they almost have a slight resistance to the orchid ever attaching to them, even if a Teora is injured.
There's a
Yeah, I
cult of Teora assassins that are
There
cultivating
you
these in a garden somewhere.
There's a bunch of goth Teora.
Yes, that have
Teora.
these orchids growing on themselves, but they're immune to
Ooh.
the poison in them.
That's-
and
that's
they don't
sort of what
have
I was
blood,
thinking,
So
so-
they're
Yeah,
not,
I
like-
think that makes sense.
Yes.
send you a
They
picture of
paint
what
their
they
they,
look
faces
they
with
like
an
corpses.
orchid.
They don't want plants or like non-organic matter.
Their goth makeup
Mm.
is an
Yes,
orchid on their
it's-
face.
yes.
There you go.
Let me see.
I
I'll
love
share
this.
the image with you because I like the image because it is kind of a light red flower in a sense, the coloring of the ones I've picked. Because there's different, obviously versions that you can find, but this one in particular, I think fits the best because it
What was
looks
the,
like blooming blood as it it's a red coloring of it travels up into the buds. You see what I mean? Like it almost looks like
Mhm.
like when you put a bandage on something and the blood bleeds across. Yeah. So that's what I think of them whenever I think of those particular orchids.
Yes.
I like it.
Yes, we have goth Teora and other other non bleeding. I don't want to say organic because I don't know, but things that don't produce
Not
a
meat
corpse.
based.
Yeah,
Already
non
know.
meat based. Thanks.
I already know what my
Um,
backup character is going to be now.
Right?
Oh no!
It's gonna be a race to see who
Already.
dies first
A
to be able to
goth
get
tree.
the fucking orchid
Well, it's-
goth
It's
Teora.
just gonna be goth something.
You know what? I even would say that because the Teora and Namasi have such a strong relationship, that the Teora, the goth Teora, cultivate specific clans and provide them with the seeds and the sleeping potions, and that's how it spreads. And they're the assassins that leave the Teora clans, so that you never, I don't know. The legend can continue to expand and expound as it goes on. Nick, so your closing is whatever you need it.
No, I like the sound of it. I think we've got some ideas for where we can run with this orchid. Okay, now Ruby, you said you had a second action you wanted to take in Southreach.
Yes. So
Okay.
hollyberries. Hollyberries are everywhere in Southreach. And one thing about hollyberries is you will see a significant barrier, right? If you look on the map and you see the Churning Isles in Southreach, and you see where it starts to turn gray green into the Churning Isles, there is literally holly bushes. The hollyberry bushes will not go past it. They will not go into that. And there's so many different versions of holly bushes and hollyberries throughout Southreach. Different colors. There's red, there's green, there's yellow, there's even orange. But the color that everybody wants is the blue winter berries. They are a myth. They don't exist, but everybody thinks they do. And they are said to be the best, most tasteful, delicious berries you will ever find. And they will imbue with the power of winter and resistance to cold. But they don't fucking exist. They're not real, guys.
That's what you think.
There is a secret plant war between the hollyberries and the orchids. And that is what that barrier on the map is.
That's the
Is
real
the
campaign,
line.
everybody.
And I
Draw
will
your
say,
characters. You're all berries.
The
They're-
Teora are
they're
the ones
fighting
that spread this
for
rumor.
Prominence over the grounds.
Ooh, can I add to that?
Yeah, go for it.
There's definitely someone out there painting pebbles blue
Oh yeah, totally, absolutely.
and selling them as winter
that-
berries.
That person is known as the blue baller.
They might also be selling dragon eggs.
Maybe.
Yes.
Just the rock man.
man.
So yeah, so like holly berries are common, but the winterberries, everybody wants the blue winterberries, guys.
The Winterberry is the name of the Windwary pirate. That is the name of their ship. Is the Winterberry.
Winterberry
Ooh.
too. Nice.
I
Nice.
really like that.
Okay,
Yeah.
there you go. Those were my two things I wanted to add to Southreach and the coldest regions.
Well done.
So,
Okay. Anybody else for Southreach? All right, then I will close it off with my action. So, the Moon Pass on Eastern Southreach has always been treacherous, but the most reliable means of accessing the subcontinent. Yes, you could hire a wind wary to try to get you over the mountains, but the altitude and the cold prove formidable, even for the most skilled of Gale veteran. Sailing around has always proved difficult as well, because the Sea of Grief is tenacious in its swallowing of vessels, hence its name. So if you wanted to get to Southreach, most brave the Moon Pass. And it is filled with treachery, the dizzying altitude, the sheer cliff faces all around, the frigid ice storms, the ravenous beasts of land and sky. None could rightly claim dominion over the pass, but the shepherds of Grim Whites came close. The village on the pass's southern edge was small, but of no small significance in Wyrdgard. Grimwhite was home to only the most rugged of folks. They made do with little, endured much, and carved out a hardscrabble life of just enough. And they guided northerners seeking safe passage through the pass, at great risk of life and limb on their parts. The northerners depended on them. The Sieve, with their shipments of ice wine, depended on them. But 3 winters back, the folks of Grimwhite failed to arrive at the encampments to the north. And when the northerners finally breached the pass, much worse for wear, they found something they did not understand. Grimwhite was there, but not as it was. A ghost town, empty and still, and what is more, the buildings, the trees, and the very earth around Grimwhite were all diminished, shriveled, drained, like something sucked every drop of zeal, or the very life itself, out of everything. And they came to call whatever was responsible the Wither. And as word spread across Wyrdgard, so too did the fear of its return. What if whatever was responsible had cleared the pass? How long until the Wither found the north? When it did, would they see it coming? Would they be able to do anything if they did? Perhaps it was already too late. And that
Bum, bum.
brings our chapter on Southreach to a close. Which means we're ready to jump into our third region.
Yeah.
So, what did we have third? Oh, third, we have... we're going to venture up a bit more northerly to warmer section of the worlds. Take off your winter coat, because you will not need it. At the northeast of the continent spans the iron-rich Rust Ridge Mountains, and beyond them lies the difficult, hard desert lands of Kuraharoa, or the waterless land in the Teoran tongue. It is here, more so than anywhere in Wyrdgard, that one is likely to find themselves besieged by something called an afterpour, a storm of wild, chaotic magic, a residual effect of the deluge. There are several small, dusty towns that dot the desert's edges, but it is otherwise largely empty, except for the feral creatures altered and empowered by the afterpours that call the desert home. But in the heart of the desert, far from the rest of civilization, lies its hidden gem, tucked away between the protection of mountains, its credence. It is a wide, arid city where coin and water are king. Credence attracts folks of all kinds who seek their fortune in the city of second chances. It's a hardscrabble landscape that's far from the regulations and eyes of other realms, making it the perfect place to reinvent yourself, to become someone new, or to hide from those who seek you. So, this is Karaharoa in the broad strokes. Let's roll initiative. What are we going to add? All right. Ooh, we've got a tight grouping of our rolls here. We have first out of the gate is Scott. I lost my pen. I don't know how I did that. I'm in a small room. Give me 1 second, actually. I need to go grab something to write with.
That's great.
I keep going first. Does anybody want to swap?
Nah, you're good.
Sure. I mean, I'll swap with you if you want.
Unless we all have the same thing that we're adding.
That's
I
true.
hope not.
Sorry about that.
Ruby is going to use her alert feat, and we're going to swap initiatives. So she's
Oh,
gonna-
perfect.
Wait, why are you doing that? So mean. Oh, okay. Within K. Oh, I'm gonna say it wrong. Say it for me one more time, Nick.
Karaharoa.
Within Karaharoa, there is a city called Mard. It is a moving city. You can never really know where it's gonna pop up, and many have claimed that they've seen it when really it was a mirage as they have trekked through Karaharoa. But the Mard is real. It is a traveling group of different species all come together. They're none native to the area. All have traveled from Wyrdgard to become Mard, the city itself. And it is, this grouping of tents that you'll see in the distance. And within it, you'll find vast amounts of ancient objects, items that you would never think have ever existed within Wyrdgard, spices, and the rarest of items that a chef would ever want. And many have tried to seek it out, but the myth is you'll never find Mard until you're good and lost, and then Mard will find you. So yeah, it's open.
This.
It's open.
I would add that this is a city that is not just made of tents. There are shockingly stable structures that seem to pop up along with this city. So wooden towers, there's even what looks to be a citadel of type, something, a defensive structure that just seem out of place in areas where they weren't organically created. So they are clearly transplanted there, but there is more permanence to it than just a tented city.
Okay, so I would say that when you see it as you walk up, the first thing you'll see is the tents, as that's part of the mirage illusion. But then as you actually get to it, when you truly arrive at Mard, then you're like, what the heck? This is an actual city. That's the surprise of it, that the zeal, the magic of it, is it's truly a city.
Very cool.
Question.
Mhm.
Do people ever leave? Or do they typically leave after they've found it? Or is it kind of like you go, you finally find it, and you just stay?
So the way I imagined it, and it's I'm taking a little bit from like biblical history when I think about it, because you remember when they fled Egypt and they were lost in the desert wandering, right? And it was like the 12 different clans. So it's become that because everybody's come there. And so they're going to entice you to join their clan depending on who or what you are. They want you to stay. Like that's part of its magic, but you can leave at any time. I mean, they're not going to stop you, but it's those with the true will to leave and go back out into the world, or that have something that they can attach themselves to outside of Mard that will be able to successfully leave. And the people of Mard, you will never know of them because they could be anywhere in Wyrdgard. Like they could have been, someone could have been from Mars that's walking right next to you down in Southreach, and you would just never know unless you were like actually struck a conversation with them, because they just look like anybody else. There's nothing that you can physically see that makes them different. But yeah, you can leave if you want to, anytime, if you want to.
All right. Adding to this,
Sure.
Mard is the capital and the only like normally seen link between Wyrdgard and the what Mard refers to as the Sea of Dreams. And that is where the city goes when it disappears between where it is. And that is why people don't frequently leave, is because there is this other thing, realm, space, something called the Sea of Dreams that Mard is the gateway to.
Nice. I like that. That's great.
Very nice.
Oh, and piggybacking off of that, like I said, you see the tents as you walk up. That's part of the illusion, the history. But as soon as you get past the first couple of rows of tents, just like the towers and the buildings and the citadels, that's when you see the wall and the gates. And it actually is like a gate that opens into Mard and the market and where everybody actually truly lives and resides. Yeah.
Can I add a thing to that?
Go for it.
There's an inscription above the gate, and it's become a habit of the few who like have gone to Mard and left, or those who know of those who have. The inscription above the gate just reads, "Be sure."
Yes.
I'm going to add to that when the city does move, on occasion some are left behind, and those tend to be those that have committed some wrong in the city.
Mm-hmm.
And so the city is actually, it's the city's way of ejecting those that it feels are not particularly useful to the city.
So let's say the city and the Sea of Dreams are so interconnected with each other that the city and Sea of Dreams are one in a sense, that's like a living entity. And so it will leave people behind, not just criminals, but those that are sure and have been ready to go. When it's ready to leave and move, and you've already made your mind that like the next day maybe you were going to leave, you're just left stranded in the desert now because Mard.
Yeah, it would not be a good thing, right? If the city and everything, all the water and everything just disappeared around you.
And
so, yeah.
And maybe even like the ones that are bad, like they're left with nothing but the clothes on the back. But the ones that were like sure they were going to leave, oh yeah, your stuff's with you. Yeah, it's like right there. But if there's other criminals next to you, you never know what's going to happen. Just they could fight you. So water is scarce.
I have something to add. This is actually going to be one of my bonus actions, but I feel like it would fit in with this city really well. It's called the Mark of Gratitude. And it's a custom where you paint a small mark on the hand of someone who has helped you. It's a dot surrounded with two short lines, so it looks like something being exchanged from one person to another. And it signifies the giver's acknowledgement of the recipient's kindness. And having multiple marks at once is seen as a badge of honor, boosting an individual's social standing. So it's kind of like basically, you were kind to me, this is for you.
Anyone that is left behind by the city of Mard has their marks removed.
They fade. They fade as soon as they wake. Like
so
they watch them fade off of themselves once
like
the city leaves them.
Temporary, so it's not like it's like paint. Like it's not like a tattoo. Like it's not permanent.
Yeah.
But so that's why, like, if you see someone, you might see like a faded one and then a more bold one from like this week, almost like henna, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like a stylized version of Wyrdgard's henna that maybe could be different colors based on the spices or the different plants that they acquire in the market over time. Some from the Sea of Dreams themselves, because Mard transports itself through there to another area in Kaor. Cool. Yay! I'm glad y'all liked it.
Yeah, very cool. Okay. So next up, then Scott and Ruby
Now you wanna
switch.
swap to one. Yeah. All right.
So Scott is next.
I think this is fairly complimentary. So this is a society action. The Dusk Runners are a subspecies of Namasi uniquely adapted to life in the harsh deserts of Karora. Resembling jackals or coyotes, they possess lean, sinewy builds and sand-colored fur that allows them to blend seamlessly in with the dunes. Their sharp ears can detect the faintest whispers of an oncoming afterpour, and their keen sense of smell enables them to locate water, shelter, or danger hidden beneath the sands. Living as nomadic clans, Dusk Runners are renowned for their unparalleled navigation skills and their ability to guide travelers safely through the treacherous storms and shifting sands of the desert. They are especially sought after as indispensable desert Sherpas.
Very cool.
It's a question. You said they're nomadic, right? Nomadic clans. Within the mountains of Kaora or within Mard, would you want them to have like a citadel or like the one spot that everyone as a nomadic clan comes back to or rotates through? I was thinking in the mountains, like built into the mountains is where the Dust Runners like have their one hidden city, but if you wanted, you could use Mard. But I'm just curious.
I think actually these work very well together. You could almost see that the Dusk Runners think of Mard as almost like their ancestral home, and they are the ones that go out.
The most, yeah.
Yeah, but they also could be, if you're looking for Mard, it may be that enlisting the aid of a Dusk Runner could potentially get you there.
Increase your chances.
Lead you in the right direction. Right, exactly.
Yeah, for the right reasons, maybe.
Right.
Yeah, okay, cool, awesome.
Also, before I forget, Ruby, spell Mard for me.
Oh, it's just M-A-R-D.
Okay, that's what I had, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I wanted it when I picked it. I was like looking at Karora, and I was like something that's simple because that's such a strong name, but something that would, everybody could easily like remember throughout. So that's
Mard.
Mard. Let's go to Mard, guys.
Okay, additional. Do we, Scott? We leaving the Dusk Runners open?
Leave it open. Yep.
Okay. Other thoughts, ideas, questions?
There's a small faction of them, very much warboy style from Mad Max that actively chase the afterpours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that. That's
Yep.
great.
And they would have to be mad to do so.
Do the Dust Runners ever actually leave?
Leave Kaora?
Do they ever leave?
There's no reason.
Roar?
There's no point, no reason they couldn't.
Right.
But I think they're so naturally acclimatized to that environment that it wouldn't feel natural to them. But
So if
maybe.
you were to ever see one outside, it would be like a shocking type rare event in a sense.
It would seem out of place.
Yeah, out of place.
Okay.
I just wanted to see that because I thought that would be accurate just because of how you described how they're built and how they move within it.
Yeah.
The sand is their home.
Okay. We ready to close the Dusk Runners?
Yep. Close
All
it.
right, then Snash.
Okay. This is one of my favorites. So when I first read the lore, the afterpours immediately spoke to me. So what I created was a storm system that is formed from the afterpours. And it peels around the desert. And basically what it does is it's a storm that if you are caught in it, you are then caught in your own version of your personal hell. And
Ooh.
basically the worst thing that has ever happened in your life, you experience over and over and over again as you aimlessly walk around within the storm, following the storm wherever it goes, until maybe you get out or maybe you die. People who do escape the storm usually end up with their minds broken. They're just a shell of their former selves. I'm trying to see what else. I'm trying not to read everything on here. There are offerings or charms that you can have to try and ward off the storms, but really nothing other than not venturing deep into the desert is the best chance of avoiding them.
And that would make pursuing Mard even more dangerous.
Oh, yeah. And I'm going to close this one. Because
Okay. Yeah. Perfectly within your rights. Okay. Being that the storm that makes you live your worst fear over and over again is closed, we move to Matilda.
Okay. In Kararoa, there is a breed of hummingbird that, funnily enough, this is the one thing I had actually prepared before today. But it is also a type of orchid. Sorry. So there is a special little orchid in Kararoa that these hummingbirds feed off of and live near and flit between. They don't, they're not terribly remarkable. They're hard to see. They're small. They're very fast. But if you can catch one, legend has it that they can grant a powerful boon, or something incredibly beneficial. Maybe they are a key to the Sea of Dreams that does not require entrance into Mard. Maybe they're a way to survive one of the storms. Maybe they give you the sight of these guides across the desert. All sorts of variety of things that people believe about these tiny little hummingbirds. And this is open.
Okay. Do these hummingbirds have a name? And it's okay if they don't.
They don't. TBD.
TBD.
I'll work on that.
The TBDs.
Yeah. It might just be that. We'll see.
So I've got an addition. So small flights of these birds, they're usually solitary, but small flights of them can be a strong indicator of a storm approaching. So if you see a cluster of these hummingbirds flying together, you should run. You should get out of the area quick.
Do not stay where you are. Move.
Maybe the capture and sale of these birds is one of those big oh my god, why would you do that? What is wrong with you type of situation.
It's the killing of unicorns for Kararoa.
Yeah, it's
sacrilege.
Yeah, it's 100%. And it's just kind of one of those things that everybody is on the same page with. It doesn't matter if you're from here, if you're not from here, if you're a criminal, if you're straight-laced, you're yeah, you don't fuck with the birds.
I mean, you know that means there has to be some lord in a dark castle somewhere that has a menagerie with several of these birds.
And they're behind a curtain.
Yes.
And he's would you like to see my birds?
They're kept in gilded cages in his little menagerie somewhere on the continent.
I'll ask on Ruby's behalf. Are they delicious?
No one knows.
No one would eat a bird.
No one has ever tested that and
What about ones already
been able to tell you.
would imagine that one's not likely to find a dead one of
That's
these
what I think.
hummingbirds
They're
because
just
the
so
desert would
special.
just reclaim them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
with
so
its-
Maybe-
their shifting sands.
Maybe like this isn't fully known because no one's been able to actually test it, but maybe like eating them makes you go insane or something with whatever inherent magic these birds possess.
Ooh.
Or could there be a 50-50 chance that you're going to lose your mind just like if you were in a storm, but there's a 50% chance that you gain access to walk through the storms into Mard with no problems no matter what? And like
No.
it's a myth though, like maybe it's a myth that like people have tried to spread, the evil ones. An evil myth.
That's the key to the surviving the storm is
Yeah, and
hummingbird
everybody's
meat.
like, it's
Eat a bird.
sacrilege to do that. You can't do that. Don't do that. It's a weird. Where did you hear that?
Well, because
It's so weird to
there's
say that,
already
yeah.
there's already like a myth or legend or folktale that these birds can grant you passage through the storm
That's true.
Yeah.
themselves. So why would you have to take it by force?
Yeah. Okay. No worries then. They just special, pretty little things.
Other thoughts on these?
I'll
Cute
figure
little
out a name
hummers.
soon.
I would love to think that like finding a feather from one of these guys, because they're so small and it's in the desert, if you find like a feather, it is like the best luck of your life. And like you would not get rid of that no matter what.
Oh, and you talked about like charms or like talismans
Yeah,
that people
that would be a charm.
probably be a big
for
one,
the,
right?
Yeah.
I like that.
Oh, there's got to be so many fake charms though, because
Oh, yeah, for
people
all of
have
these
seen
things.
the little wings. But
There's a
they're-
guy with a bunch of rocks and he says they're
A
hummingbird
bag of tiny feathers.
You wear these feathers, you will get through the desert.
Those are
they're
just dried
petrified
leaves.
hummingbird feathers.
Right.
It's just
Oh,
rocks.
love
It's
it.
always just rocks.
rocks.
I can't wait to meet this guy.
There's going to be like a number of these random guys throughout.
There will always be a man
It's
with
just
a bag of
a
rocks.
chain of this.
It's a family
franchise.
It's a franchise.
It's a franchise
Weird.
family.
And they all sound like Gobblefunk.
It is. We are Goble Funk, and
Yes.
we have fine wares for you.
They smoke little cigarettes.
Yes.
100% not a knockoff. All right, it's gonna happen.
Yay.
Not Gobblefunk, the different name. Okay, so everybody has taken an action. We had a slight bonus action with the Mark of Gratitude, but really we can just lump that in with the Mard building. Does anybody have anything else they would like to add to this region?
Oh my god, I would love that idea of some wandering traders throughout the area. Have you guys ever played like Breath of the Wild and stuff?
Sure.
Yeah.
The guy who walks around with a giant backpack
Yes.
selling bugs.
Beetle.
Oh, I imagine that would be a good role for some Dusk Runners. Some of them, they got to make some scratch somehow.
Not
Beyond
just,
just,
who go throughout the desert
yeah.
and Damar. They're the wanderers, the wandering merchants that you
Mhm.
see.
I would love that.
That'd be great.
You just see, but it's just like one person.
It's the
And
same
it's
guy.
It's always
Yeah,
the
it's-
same, like Resident Evil style. It's always the
They're
same
all
guy
brothers.
that pops up where you need them.
It's all the Nurse Joys. Okay, yeah, for sure. You got to have traders, especially in a desert. Ruby?
Past the most northern mountains comes a legend from the Dusk Runners who say they've seen it. Is the most glorious oasis of fertile ground with water springing up and the most beautiful ancient structures. Think of like the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. Is that right? Am I thinking that right?
Yeah.
So think of like that, but it's past the mountains. Nobody ever
Okay.
goes past the mountains. But the legend is if you trek past the mountains, you'll find paradise. But
Okay.
nobody ever goes past the mountains. So
I
just a
am
myth, a legend, a culture, whatever you want to do with that. myth.
Ruby. I'm going to. No, actually, I'm not going to do anything. You're fine.
But you can, like, totally, like, it's open to interpretation. Is it there or is it not
this
there?
this idea of this myth.
Yeah, is it there? Is it not there? Some Mard will say they've seen it. Some will say they know an ancestor 10 generations back that say, yeah, it's there. That's where they go and rest. something like within the culture of dying that's like the place people go or something, or they'll wander off into the desert and they've ended up in the oasis past the mountains or something. I don't know. Anyways, I just wanted another myth and legend within there because there's such nice greenery at the top of the map. I was like, there's got to be something up there.
I'm going to throw one more out there as a minor bonus action. So I believe there's 3 moons to Wyrdgard.
There are indeed.
And they operate on different cycles, though at some points they align. That alignment actually is a predictable cause for really significant afterpours and storms.
Okay.
So you can, we've got a day of 3 suns or a day of 3 moons coming. We all need to shelter. We all need to be out of the environment at that time. But some of it should be tied at least to the celestial motion.
Yeah, who doesn't love a good syzygy?
Yeah.
Which is my favorite word to use in Hangman.
That's just mean.
Remind me never to play Scrabble with you, Nick.
Ooh, see, but like being good at Scrabble is knowing all of the 2-letter and 3-letter words.
Yes, that's right.
So that you can get those Boku bonus points.
And it's all about board positioning, right?
Oh,
get the triple letter scores. Yep.
Can I add something to my myth?
Yeah.
The most northern and mountainous region, the mountains border and kind of curve and cup the northern part of the desert, and you will find the most storms spawning and coming in that area. And that's why it's one of the reasons it's so treacherous that many Dust Runners and others in Mard will say, yeah, that's their paradise back there. But because it's so treacherous that you will have like a storm, like there's like a narrow path that people say you can find through the storm, or there's a key that you can get through. But the legend is that paradise is there, but no one ever goes there because of how deadly it truly is that far north. The storms just take you.
That makes sense as a reason why people aren't venturing up that.
I was thinking about that. I was like, there's got to be a reason. There's got to be more of a reason. I was like, Snash has got these storms that just capture you and keep you. So let's use that.
Adding to Scott's, if I can add to that.
Sure.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Didn't mean to speak for you, Scott.
With, the alignment of the 3 moons being an indication of worse afterpours and storms and everyone has to hide kind of thing. Similarly, there would be the random day, or not random, but there would be a predictable day where all 3 are in a new moon phase and the dark sky is a holiday.
Yeah. So I have suggested that we actually use a legitimate calendar for Wyrdgard. And I've got a whole thing already put together. There's a great system, a great website that does fantasy calendaring, and it's really excellent at keeping track of lunar cycles. And if you have events that occur on certain, a new moon plus some other celestial event, it all just automatically populates the calendar and all that. So
there would be minor holidays with different phases, all of them, but when they're all in a new moon, it's the dark sky, and that is a holiday within Kararo.
So we say full moon, storms, everybody hide.
Full moon,
new moon. Let's celebrate.
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure I'm writing my notes down.
Because there is a lower chance of these storms and these afterpours that are somehow tied to these celestial bodies.
What if that's when the most travelers come through, too?
Well, it's a celebration. It's a known... It's like a solstice. It's...
Yep. Yeah, we'll have to check, Scott, with what we already have programmed in there. How often does that happen where the three
come together? Moon. Yeah, so right now I just totally randomly put one on a 30-day cycle, one on 45, and one on 90. So it's pretty damn rare that you get all 3.
I was going to say it's got to be.
But I think
once a year.
You can make it a range. You can make it a range.
Yeah.
So it's.
I would love it if it was once a year.
Yeah.
Or once maybe every 2 or 3. Like make it a weird.
Well, once a year, like a solstice.
Or less often even.
Yeah.
Every
it's
one
less
and a
often
fourth
with
year,
those
one and a
cycles
quarter.
for sure.
Okay, perfect.
Like every 2 1/4 or something.
Not more than once a year. The dark sky happens.
Perfect.
And
I like that.
But that's another way for us also, once, if we're using bastions in this campaign, it's a good way for us to keep track of bastion turns and just kind of keep time, because time is different in Wyrdgard than how the Martyria campaign was played. But I can send out a link to all of kind of the preliminary calendar there.
You mean the 2 weeks that we spent a year going through?
Right.
Yeah, boy.
Mhm.
All right. Anything else for Koraharoa? Is that a thumb up for yes? You have something? Smash?
No, all good.
Oh, okay. All right, then I will close out with the following before we move on to our break, because we're due. So, since its founding 163 years ago, Credence has been more or less synonymous with Karaharoa, in addition to the Dusk Runners, the quasi-mythical status of Mard, the storms themselves. But Credence has been one of few predictable and constants in the desert. Its history has been rather colorful, though. There was the Vethran Dust Wars, of course, the First and Second Choleric Reckonings, the Great Fire of Needletown, the Red Sand Massacre. Violence and death are sun-baked into the city. But Credence finally seemed on the precipice of peace and order with the drafting of something called the Industry Standard, a powerful magical treaty enumerating and codifying the official rule of the city's many industry tycoons. And then 5 years ago, on the eve of its signing, the Tempest struck. The most devastating afterpour in recorded history. The Tempest bypassed city defenses and ripped through Paradise Valley, where the oligarchs had assembled, leaving no survivors, presumably. But who's to say for sure? A typical afterpour leaves remnants, physical vestiges of their once being there, but the Tempest left something more, or rather, it never left at all. Where the oligarchs met, a roiling, unabating storm of intractable zeal filled the valley. And in the ensuing power vacuum, Credence went even more topsy-turvy than ever. But then came Hux. Who or exactly what Hux is eludes the public. Some say they're nothing more than a hell-bent Vethran with a bone to pick with authority, but others are more creative. They're a scion for some long-lost god of conquest, a demon donning the flesh of mortal kind, an emissary from the Sea of Dreams, a curse made sapient, or even one of the ancients themselves. Whoever the enigmatic, unpredictable Hux is, they swiftly establish themselves as sole sovereign of Credence. And before, Wyrdgard wouldn't really give half a shit who claimed to run the City of Second Chances, but now, whoever holds the power of the city also holds the unprecedented power of the Tempest and the boundless zeal and possibilities within. Storm that never dies. All right, everybody, we are going to take a break, and we'll jump into our last two regions. Huzzah, hooray! And we are back. Thanks for bearing with us. As we emptied our bladders and replenished our drinks, we are jumping into our fourth region of Wyrdgard. If we move west across the mountains forming the western barrier of Karaharoa, we would reach the largest contiguous region of Wyrdgard. That is the Western Concord, which spans the northwest of the continent and unites three sovereignties, Timbermoor, Gloamwood, and Evermarsh. The land of the Western Concord is diverse and wild beyond reckoning. Timbermoor's northwestern forests are tall and dense. Its capital is Wildergrove, a large city built high into the half-mile steel woods of the region. Zeal oaks are plentiful here, trees soaked with zeal, making them an invaluable resource in building and enchanting. Gloamwood encompasses the southwest of the region and is most notable for its capital, at least to those outside of the area, Glowlily, whose eternal twilight and neon flora delight and perplex travelers. Evermarsh makes up the eastern half of the Concord and is dominated by expansive waterways and swampland. And each of the region's many waterways stem from its capital, Wellspring, where the water literally springs from the ground at the Lake of Four Rivers and spreads throughout the region. The Western Concord is home to all, but it is dominated by two of our species in Wyrdgard, the two most numerous, the Namasi or beast folk and the Teora or plant folk. So, let's roll initiative as we dig into the Western Concord. Okay, another tight grouping. We start with Ruby unless we want to swap any using our alert feat.
And I'm okay to go, but if anyone does want to swap, let me know.
Go for it.
Okay.
Okay, Ruby, take it away.
So I think I'm going to classify this one kind of as a cultural society action. Within the Western Concord and within every single area, so that's including, hold on. So within Gloomwood, Timbermoor, and Evermarsh, there is temple. We'll use the word temple for the Damasi. Truthfully, it's not really a temple. It's more of a place that the Namasi go
A
to
holy
resolve
place.
conflicts. Not holy, but the Namasi don't share this with anyone. Only the Teora have an idea of where it is because of how interconnected they are within the Western Concord. Many others believe that within Glowlily, Wildergrove, and Wellspring lies a building that is where the Namasi go to like handle clan disputes or handle even, internal issues of where, there's crops or there's a problem with like traveling down the rivers, anything that almost, would affect one another. It's also a communication hub where the Namasi will like trade rumors and sell stories and information to each other between different clans, because there's all sorts of species, right? There's so many different kind, and you will find a vast array of Namasi throughout the Western Concord. But every area has one of these places, and it's hidden. And many think it's in the cities, the capital cities, but it's not. It's outside of them in a protected area. And I wanted to say like a temple, but really it's... I'm trying to think of the right word for it.
A grove?
Maybe a grove, like, yeah, kind of like a grove would be a good idea. That's why the Teora they know about it, but they never interfere with it,
So now, Ruby, are these like the big clan disputes that would be resolved here, or is this like this guy stole my watch?
Those small things. Those are handled by like clan chiefs and the clan hierarchy. These are where the big disputes happen. These are where people will see Namasi snapping at each other, like the wolves and the foxes might snap at each other, or the lions and the leopards will snap at each other, right? Or maybe it's the foxes and the lions. It just depends. But when everybody sees them within capitals doing this, all of that is handled within the groves and the temples, the areas that is hidden. None of that gets brought out. It's always something that the Namasi handle and have handled for generations. Ever since the deluge, they keep it to themselves. And within that also hides the knowledge, that's the secrets that guard Namasi, which Nick, kind of some of those we've talked about. And that's where that's held, and that's also researched, and where people come to provide more knowledge and information. And that's where people go if they're looking something from one clan to another and they need that type of information. You go to that place, the closest one to you, and that's where you'll find it. But predominantly what many others hear, rumors that are spread, is this is where the clan fights are held, where like warrior gets pinned against warrior, and like it's your best, like it's like Achilles versus Hector clashing. That's where that's happening, and that's what the Namasi actually let spread, and they want people to think that when really it's more of a sacred place behind all of that.
Okay, very nice. Do you want to leave this open, or do you want to close this?
I'll leave it open. I do want to hear any thoughts.
Okay.
But I have the right to be like, no, let's not do that.
Absolutely. Matilda, do you have anything that you would want to add or ask?
Sorry. Are there... What are the consequences to Namasi for sharing this location with outsiders?
So they actually can't, because it's in the language of beast. If they were to speak it to you, any other race or species, you would hear it and you could try to write it down and understand it. But unless you're able to truly understand that language, you're not going to have any idea what they said. But the consequence of us saying it to anybody that's not an Namasi, or talking about it and discussing that location, like you're banned, in the sense that you're going to get kicked out of your clan. Everyone's
like
going to
exiled.
You're exiled. Everyone's going to know. Like Namasi have great hearing. Okay. Any of them are really good at hearing shit, and they're gonna hear you no matter where you are, because there's so many of them throughout.
Can I add a consequence?
Sure, go ahead.
Maybe whatever this magic is that protects these groves, these clan meets, if you do attempt to betray the location, there is a physical brand that appears somewhere on your body that marks you as a traitor.
I'd agree with that for sure. Oh, the brand looks like a twig breaking, which is kind of odd, but it literally looks like you broke something, and it's like branded, and it's scarring and jagged looking, and any other Namasi would know as soon as they seen that like red scarring.
Can I add one thing to that? The location of this is on the neck, and when it appears, that individual's voice is forever lost.
Okay.
I love this. There's a whole outcast clan of the voiceless within the Namasi
And they're
that
goth.
have made their little outsider
They're
society.
goth.
I was just gonna ask.
Well, the biggest thing about it is it's sacrilege to even mention this. And it's not that the Namasi are trying to keep people out. There's intermittent cultural aspects of why that it's become that way. Like ever since the deluge,
It's sacred.
it's sacred because of things that have happened and actions that have taken within the Western Concord. But that's where they'll find it. Even the Nasi that journey all the way down to like Southreach, if there's clans or anything that we would have down there, they would journey up to the Western Concord to, Wellspring or Glow Lily or Wild Grove, as saying, oh, we're traveling for, such and such, but really they're going there maybe for a clan dispute. And then they'll all vanish one day.
So when you see the snow leopards, you know why.
You know why the snow leopards are here. They're having issues, and they're having
The North remembers.
Yes, exactly.
So it's almost like a moot, right? They're like bringing
Yeah.
together. Yeah.
Mhm. So yeah, I didn't have official name for him though. Like Grove works the best, I feel like. And thanks again for that. But I couldn't come up with like
Could be Warren. Right?
House.
Grove feels Taora.
I like that. The Warren.
the Warren would be good.
Yeah, we can
Den.
workshop names.
Like I feel like it almost might be different from each one. You know, like each
Yeah, for
area.
sure, each one
has a
would have its
slightly
own
different
name.
one,
Right.
you know, that would translate over into beast speech to something that we could all just kind of know.
Yeah.
I'll come up. We'll talk about it next. I'll come up with something. But yeah, let's go with Warren / Grove / temple type place. Sorry, Soda.
We good? All right, we're good. Do we need to add anything to this, Ruby? Anybody else? Ideas?
Anything?
Okay, then let's go to our next in initiative, which is Matilda.
Okay. So there's some mountains on the edge of the Evermarsh there.
Mhm.
There's some land that they bleed in between. There would be a group, a traveling group that lives on these mountains and in these marshes. They're well versed in both territories. And you mentioned that there were these oaks that were imbued with zeal. Perhaps there's other plants that are imbued too. There's other plants that are imbued too. These groups use these other plants to distill spirits within the mountains and the marshes, and to distribute them extra legally.
Okay, so we've got some
Moonshiners.
Yes.
moonshiners.
Can they all have really hillbilly sounding accents?
Oh, it's Appalachia.
Oh, Appalachia.
I have been planning to bring a
We have been
section of
talking
this to be Appalachia since you introduced us to
Okay,
Wyrdgard.
hell yeah, this
So-
is Appalachia over here.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, can some of them have
There's
like a
some-
strong accent that like you actually can't understand a word they say?
Oh
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
the ones more in the swamp would be kind of more what you would think of like a Cajun
Creole,
accent, like
yeah.
Creole,
Creole.
real heavy.
You guys
Like
are-
Ray
more-
from the
All right,
Princess of the
Nick.
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
accents are going to be what I come up with.
Is
when I
it-
make
and
these
then
Fine,
there's-
movies.
that's fine. We understand.
There's
Is
gonna
it
be
really
more
Australian?
Appalachian
What?
in the-
Everything's Australia.
Is it one predominant species or is it a mix?
It's
Is
a
this a
mix.
bunch of-
It's
A bunch of
mix.
alcoholics?
There's definitely some. It's not just effigians. There's a mix of everything. There's some of the voiceless are there. They're the ones that didn't fit too well in other parts of society.
They got chased out.
They
I like
found
that
a new
thinking.
home.
Okay, so the outcasts. I like it.
Spirit
Moonshine.
moonshiners.
I love it.
Outcast moonshiners running around over here in the marshes and the mountains, y'all. We
Raise
watch
hell,
out.
praise Dale.
Mm.
The mountain marsh moonshiners. Oh,
Maybe
goodness.
they're just collectively they're called the marsh folk.
The marsh folk. Okay, I like it.
It's not a species, it's a culture.
They're committed to making Wyrdgard great again.
God damn
No.
it. Don't even.
They are not. It's already
They're
great.
very much not.
All right. Anything to add to the marsh folk?
Okay. This question and adding. You said they kind of sell these illegally, like the moonshine, like true illegal. Is there an underground market of voiceless that like travel the river on rafts and like have specific hand signals that they use? to
There
tell
is
people
now.
that hey, we've got the goods.
You have manifested it.
And they're selling these spirits extra legally because there would definitely be some of the Teora that are unhappy about them
Yes.
harvesting these zeal trees and these zeal like plants to make this spirit.
Makes sense.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else for marsh folk? Then that brings us to Scott.
So my society action is going to be a commercial. So let me tell you about the Frontier Dispatch. It's Western Concord's most trusted source of news, uniting the region's diverse communities through a blend of diligent reporting and magical innovation. Operating from a network of regional hubs, the Dispatch uses spells like sending, message, and teleportation circles to transmit urgent news and key updates across vast distances, ensuring even remote settlements stay informed. From after-pour alerts to trade route advisories to thrilling adventurer tales and local happenings, the Dispatch delivers timely, reliable information to all corners of Concord. Its magical network allows for the rapid dissemination of critical news, fostering a shared identity, a stronger connection throughout the region's wild and varied lands.
Heck yeah. It's the BBC/Pony Express of the
Radio
Western
Free
Concord.
But
Wyrdgard.
with magic, right?
But with magic. Oh, this is so cool. The Frontier Dispatch. Hell yeah. So I have a question. You said like they've got news on the whole world, right? So is it like primarily like headquartered in the Western Concord, but just operates throughout the whole of the
it
world?
started in Western Concord, but its reach is now unlimited because of the availability of magical means for sending information. And yeah,
So there's going to be an office in every city.
correct.
Okay, perfect.
Question. Who predominantly runs the headquarter office?
It started in Western Concord, so it's a mix of largely Teora and Namasi.
Okay. Do they have specific Namasi that have a little uniform that run through the towns like the Skyrim? I have a message for you. Here you go. But they're like
They're
running
all-
to the news headquarters.
They're all birds.
Right.
And they're like, yeah, like
Ooh.
it's specific. Like I
As a
said,
little
it's specific
bird
Namasi.
told you.
They're big little birds.
Flight
And
would
they have
certainly
like
help.
a hat or like a uniform vest that, like, if you see it flying, don't shoot at that one. That is a part of the commercial Frontier Dispatch of the Western
Yes.
Concord.
Someone sent me a bird today.
So what's
Did you
it-
did you read the bird this morning?
Could they be otters in yellow
Yeah.
raincoats?
The otters, the withers. through
That's
the
from a
rivers.
book. That's from a book. But it's
Yeah.
oh,
They could be swimming through the rivers, the otter Namasi. But the other thing is, even though you'll see a lot of the Namasi, because the Namasi have such a great connection to their animals that are around them, you'll actually see just normal otters and birds with like scrolls and stuff attached to them, maybe. Or like a magic stone. I don't know how you want to do it, Scott. I know you said you use magic a lot of it, but that was like the original way, is they like did
Sure.
pigeons. You
Yeah.
know, messenger pigeons with notes.
I knew it was going to come back to pigeons. I knew it.
Sorry, I love pigeons.
No, can the like whatever the daily send out is for this Frontier Dispatch be called the Grapevine?
Sure.
The grapevine.
question, Scott.
Yes.
Would there be any regions of Wyrdgard that would like want to black out news?
Yeah, I think because news is so powerful, just the dissemination of information, it can become a political pawn in a lot of places, whether it be through the dissemination of misinformation or the blacking out of news. So absolutely. Yeah.
So, for example, Credence would absolutely be on blackout.
So you would say it almost would be city by city, that there could be political amalgamations depending on who's running the dispatch office from
Yeah,
each city
and-
or each location.
And there could be a covert operative network trying to get news in that, is officially
Like the
blocked.
underground dispatch.
You got it.
Yeah. That's cool.
Could there even be agents that are not part of the dispatch that try and feed news to actual dispatch agents or to the office?
Sure.
Or, like, it's credible news and like I have all the facts and information,
They've
but maybe
got to
it's-
get their news from somewhere. So
yeah,
sure.
maybe it's
Yeah.
blacklisting though, like
Citizen reporting.
Husk or somebody in Crete. Like there's other things that they're sharing in the blackout regions that are trying to maybe politically manipulate and get rid of certain things or improve things depending on who's.
So it is Radio Free Wyrdgard.
I love it. That's great, Scott.
Very clever, very creative.
Yeah.
Okay. Other ideas for the Frontier Dispatch?
Just make sure you have the uniforms written down is all I would like.
Okay, wicked. Then let's go to Snash.
All right. I got a good one for you guys. All right. Welcome to Valemere. I'm going to read this one because I really like it. Located in the neon-lit swamps of the Evermarsh in the western Concord, Valemere is a small village built on platforms and stilts over shallow wetlands. The town is surrounded by glowing vegetation that is hopping with life, literally, as its frog-based Namasi residents fill the air with the sound of their croaking and singing. The town is a vibrant picture of sounds and colors, luminescent mushrooms lighting pathways, small bells hanging from roadsides, and a continuous hum of string and wind instruments carrying a lighthearted tunes. The town is headed by its burgmaster, Willow Glometoes, and is welcoming to compatriots and outsiders alike. Looking for a place to stop and rest? The Croaker's Perch is built around the base of a massive glowing tree. Its branches stretch over the town, providing soft illumination. The tavern is famous for its marshfire ale, which I wonder where they get it from, which is brewed with luminescent moss and frogberry pie. Perhaps you are in town in time for the Fen Folk Festival, an annual celebration where residents decorate their homes with glow moss and dance on the boardwalks to music made from swan instruments like hollow reeds and shell lutes. The celebration varies in length and with last year's being a notably long 2 weeks. It is typically ended when the needs of daily life start imposing on the ability to continue. The daily life of Valemere is centered around fishing and foraging. The residents rely on the abundant resources of the marsh, catching fish and harvesting glow moss, marsh berries, and other edible plants. Within the town, song and dance are abundant, and the atmosphere often leaves one feeling uplifted and jolly.
That was
Heck
awesome.
yeah.
I'll leave it open because this is my favorite place in the world.
There's a brothel in Valemere called the Horny Toad.
Horny Toad.
And she leaves it there.
There you go.
I mean, it speaks for itself.
Right?
The Horny Toad.
My brain can't stop doing Muppets right now. Like, is it easy
Yeah.
being green? Is the mayor in love with a pig? Is it,
Oh man, it's just a good time.
Just a good time. A good hang.
Love it. Love it.
Definitely sticks with the Cajun accent.
Hey, Snatch.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead if you were going to say something.
Go.
So hidden behind this jolliness is a network of information that gets passed through the songs and dance of the people that is sharing the struggles of the Namasi in the area. And that's how they trade information. Unlike the other areas, the song and dance is how they speak and communicate to each other.
So it's got like some thieves' cant.
Yeah,
To
a
it.
little bit of thieves' cant to it, but it's its
That
whole
sort of
alphabet
style.
in its sense that where you do something or dance towards someone or dance away or sing
Like the
certain things.
Victorian fan code.
Yeah, almost like the fan code.
Like
But with-
bees.
Yeah,
Like
like the
bees.
buzzing of bees. So
Like bees.
many Namasi know this, but truly the ones that have mastered it are those who live in Valemere. And you don't often hear it outside of Valemere because they really only use and speak it there because it's become culturally that's the way of communicating to each other.
They don't
you will.
like sad stuff, so the only way they communicate sad stuff is by dancing it out.
Yes. Yeah. Even bad news of a storm kidnapping someone or someone dying is through a very polite.
They're very.
dance.
I would like to think that they're very avoidant of any negativity.
So does that mean conflicts are settled with a dance battle?
No, it's more like there's no conflicts, but it's like
Oh,
they
no.
will do anything to avoid talking
Okay.
about conflict, including dancing about it. They'll be
Yeah.
like, "So, my dad
And then-
died."
So, and Snash, you can nix this if you want. The grove that is within the marshlands, where the Namasi come to have like clan fights and everything, there's a strict rule that if you cannot fight it out, you have to dance it out. And that happens more often than not because people actually enjoy the dance fights that take place in the grove
I would-
over there.
I would like to think that maybe the other Namasi would be a little annoyed with these folks from this town
Yeah.
because it's kind of like they come to a meeting and the meeting's about very serious, like sad stuff, and they're like, "Oh, but it's great. We could be friends. Let's have a drink. Let's dance." You know,
Yeah.
they're
And
they're
maybe
a
that's-
little too much. Sometimes.
And maybe that's like a punishment too. Like if it doesn't get resolved with fighting or something, as punishment, all the other Namasi are like, all right, now you have to start dancing and do the dancing communication because they're just so fed up with it. It's become like a struggle for many of them. But the villagers in Belmore and the frog Namasi are like, oh yeah, let's do it. Let's dance.
I
don't
need
know.
you to tell me yes or no now, Snash, of whether you're okay with this becoming New Orleans.
That's basically what it is.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Making sure we're on
You
the same
can't,
page.
you can't have a bad day here. You're not
I
allowed
love
to.
it.
The boardwalk is the party walk.
Please, let's do that too.
Awesome stuff. Okay. Any other thoughts on Valemir?
It's great.
Okay, everybody has taken an action here in the Western Concord. Is anybody looking for a second action? Here, a bonus.
I got one.
Okay.
So if Valemir is New Orleans, there is a city
See, didn't even see
near
that.
Glow Lily that is Las Vegas. It is known for brothels and bars and gambling
What?
of varying types. We're not exactly sure. I don't know what currency they care about yet, but there would be a city. I didn't want to say it was Glow Lily because I don't want to take over that city in your region. There would be a city near Glow Lily that is basically Vegas.
Okay. Does it have a name, or is that TBD?
I'll figure it out by the end of this conversation.
Okay.
I have one as well, unless somebody else has one.
Are we
That
just
is
leaving
open.
it at this?
Feel free.
Okay.
Oh no, mine's different. I just love the premise of what she said. It's perfect for over there. I actually see a spot right where the river ends, and there's a lake over to like the left of Glow Lily, right near the Thunder Reach. That's where I feel like it should go. That's where the city should go.
The city
Okay.
is just called Radiance.
Ooh, I like
Radiance.
that.
That's nice.
Is there a heavier population of one species in the city?
I imagine that the folks who kind of work at these taverns and such would be Teora and Namasi, but as far as tourism goes, it's kind of just everyone.
Can there be Namasi weasels that are the corrupt casino owners? In Radiance.
Are there any snakes?
And there's a few Namasi snakes
Sure.
and lizards as well.
Yeah.
Just a specific like Namasi grouping.
There's a whole Jets and Sharks war between the snakes and the weasels now.
There you go. Hey, the Namasi are very many and numerous, so you could use them in any way across the whole lake.
There's an entire casino run by a faction of just voiceless,
Oh yes,
Hmm.
100%, 100%.
and they refuse to serve Namasi.
Okay.
That's great.
Heck yeah. Other thoughts for Radiance? Okay, Snash, you had another action?
Oh yeah, I got a creature. I would like to add to
Okay.
the area. It's called a sorrow jaw. I've been taking my inspiration for creatures from prehistoric creatures.
Oh no.
It's basically, think of the size of a rhinoceros, the body of a rhinoceros. Do you guys know what a Tasmanian tiger is?
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Thylacine.
It's like that kind of jaw structure, and it's known to swallow men whole. You don't want to come across it. It will charge you down and it will swallow you whole.
Do they have a primary nesting ground within one region or the other?
I would feel like they're very marshy. That's
So the
just
Evermarsh, where you would find the most
like
of them?
like my brain thinks of like mangroves and stuff.
Is
Okay.
it the apex predator in the region, or does it have a foe, a predator?
What eats the sorrow jaw?
It would have to be really fucking big.
There's something.
Or, I mean, it would have to be really skilled hunters to hunt it down and eat it.
Yeah.
All right, so can I add something, Snash?
Yeah.
You know Avatar with Turok Muktau, the whole legend within the tribe of the rider. The marsh folk have their similar thing for people who can use a sorrow jaw as a mount.
That would be terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
There's very rare, but it has allegedly happened, and potentially could again.
During one of the
Love it.
great clan wars, maybe. Who knows?
How many of these things are there? Like, how are they relatively rare? I imagine there
They're
can't be
not.
too many.
There's not that many.
Okay.
It's not like deer, right? It's
Is
more
it like gators?
mountain lion. Yeah, mountain lions.
I would say mountain lions because
Okay.
there's
Not
gators
as common as
multiply,
gators. Yeah.
Okay.
and there could be a lot in one area.
You're not just gonna find one in your pond.
No.
I mean,
It's time
But
to
when
move.
you do, you know it's there and it's time to move.
Mhm.
definitely
Or-
had a mountain
or you're
lion
already
show
dead.
up in my backyard growing up, so it's possible.
Okay.
Oh, certainly. But I was saying, like with gators, where you're gonna expect to see one. Sorrow jaw. All right.
Oh God, do they
Um,
scream like mountain lions?
I mean, they could.
Maybe.
Or they wail, hence the sorrow.
No one's ever survived hearing
Like
them
a
actually
banshee.
wail.
It's like a banshee. That's the instead of mountain lions, how they scream, they wail because it's the sorrow jaw.
Maybe that's how they lure people, because it sounds like a woman's scream.
Or a
They
crying
don't have
baby.
to lure you. They're not.
Oh yeah,
they're not an
pretty
alligator. They're not.
powerful.
Oh,
They're gonna run you down. They're like elephants and rhinos. They see you, you're done.
It's
sweet.
a hippo with bigger teeth.
Yes.
Excellent. So anything else that anybody wants to add? Ruby?
Between Wildgrove and Glow Lily resides a small mountain range. Within this mountain range, there resides a very specific animal that lives upon the mountain and never comes down from the mountain, and you will never see anywhere but on the mountains there. They are the mountain goats, and they are mean, and they are loud, and they are rudely crude, and will knock you off the mountain. and a tradition. Yeah, right there. Exactly. They scream just like that, and they will scream in your
They're
face
just-
and scare the crap out of you.
Just regular mountain goats that she's describing.
Right.
It's really regular mountain goats. But what the whole point of the mountain goats is there is an Amasi tradition for those that live at the base of the mountain to go up and kill a mountain goat and bring it down for their coming of age ceremony.
What if you change that
Okay, I'm listening.
instead of killing it,
Uh.
successfully milking it and not dying?
Then I would say it's more of
Mountain
like,
goat cheese is prized beyond.
No, it's like
boundaries.
the dare of the coming of age is being
to
able
go,
to
yeah.
milk it.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I can see that. That sounds more fun, actually, yeah. Is to, like, you have to go up and successfully fill, and it's not like a bucket, it's just a glass. Like, they're not going to be really mean.
It's like a stealth mission.
It's like a stealth mission, yeah, just like a normal glass. And what's really funny, though, is there are, like, older groups of Namasi goat herders that actually, like, herd and make the cheese, which is a really rare cheese. Like, it's like similar to the ice wine, and that, like, it can still be shipped out, but it's like a delicacy of delicacies. And there's only like 2 or 3 farmers that actually do this because of how difficult and how rare it is. And they actually encourage the kids in the coming of age ceremony. Yeah, come on, I got one right here. He's right over there. You go over there and let you do it, and it screams and knocks them off the mountain.
They place bets every year of how many
Mhm.
kids get kicked off the mountain by their goats.
It's like it's
You
totally
wear
happens.
you wear the knots on your head like a trophy.
Yeah. It's not just one like type of Namasi. All the Namasis in like the area that's like it just kind of has spread, and it's those that live around the mountain, and some in Wilder Grove and Glow Lily and Radiance even, like they go up to do this because it's one of those things that's just gotten bigger and bigger over the years as a coming of age style ceremony. So I just thought it was funny. I wanted mountain goats in there, Nick.
Done.
Absolutely.
Especially the ones that scream really loud in your face, like the videos.
It's the best kind.
They're the best kind. White and fluffy and mean.
All right. Anything else for the Western Concord? All right, then I will take my action to end things for this section. So, 60 years ago, all across the Western Concord, something happened that's changed the Namasi ever since. Something that's caused them to reprioritize the function of their warrens, their dens. And that was 60 years ago across the region. Namasi went to sleep and simply never awoke. They did not die, they did not age, they did not fade, they just merely entered what became known as the endless sleep, and nearly 1 out of 500 Namasi were initially affected. Some areas were impacted minimally or not at all, but others were not so lucky. Small settlements collapsed entirely, bloodlines stalled indefinitely, panic proliferated. People sought out the Sea of Dreams to see, is that where they've gone? Did they join up in Mard in some sort of spiritual capacity? To no avail. And while the wakeless slept on, the rest of the world was forced to just reckon with the unreckonable. So some of the folks of the region sought to aid the sleeping. They plumbed the depths of both the arcane and the divine knowledge for cures, but it was to no avail. Some were less sympathetic and viewed the endless sleep as some sort of divine comeuppance for some grand Namasi transgression or innate defect, and either secretly or publicly nodded their approval. But most simply feared that the condition would spread and thus kept their distance, even those who don't traditionally sleep. So in the months and years that followed, the stigma surrounding the wakeless, and by extension their wakeful counterpart, Namasi, ebbed and flowed, but decades passed and the Namasi population rebounded. And as it became apparent that neither they nor their wakeless kin presented any undue harm, superstition and stigma surrounding them largely died, but that is not to say entirely. For among the discontented are those who call themselves the Steel Requiem, those who view the endless sleep itself as a blight, a curse, a cancer that only death could cure. And they may be small, but the Requiem's crusade to deliver the slumbering Namasi to their final rest has again rattled the Western Concord. Not only do the Effigians protect their sleeping brethren in Sistren, but so too do the Namasi. For most of them, that means hiding them away or destroying all records of their existence or falsifying records of their death, because to do otherwise would invite certain death to their bedside. But even so, the wakeless sleep on, unchanging in their eternal slumber and oblivious to the precariousness of their survival. And now, do we want to take a quick break, or do we want to just finish up with our last chunk?
I say let's just finish.
Let's just finish it out. Okay, so with that being said, then we are going to move to our last region. And for this, we don't have a specific map because the fifth and final region of Wyrdgard is, you could argue, not a specific region at all, for it is widespread across the continent and fragmented. So in the time of the deluge, splits and cracks opened all throughout the continent, revealing the expansive subterranean world of the Ether Deep. It is not one continuous web of tunnels, but rather hundreds of independent systems of crystal caverns, large and small, that stretch miles and miles into the earth. Ether, result of Zeal's interaction with the crystals of the Ether Deep, now fills the caverns. And creatures move through ether like water, but can breathe it as they would air, creating this weightless wonderland. And the Ether Deep is prized by adventurers for its countless avenues for exploration. It is the least explored region of the world. And many of the continent's major settlements were built near or even on top of thresholds to the Ether Deep. So when you pay a visit to Timbermore, for example, don't be surprised that underneath the city is another, equally grand and complex. While all sorts of folks inhabit the Ether Deep, it is first and foremost the home of a people called the Kaleidons. Kaleidons are pale-skinned after centuries of living far from the sun, beady-eyed, long-eared and long-clawed folks. Their faces tend to be flats with their noses scrunched up against their face. And they predate the deluge. But why did they live while the surface dwellers perished? Well, if you ask them, it was all thanks to the crystals, the ubiquitous, enchanting, awe-inspiring guardians of the deep. So, our final region, the Ether Deep. Let us get into our initiative rolls, our last one for the evening. Hey, we've got a nat 20.
Sure, now I get the nat 20.
Scott somehow rigged this roller to help him and none of us.
Do you feel like this has been helping in some way?
Yes, what advantage do we have in this
Yes.
game?
Good thing I'm going first and cutting all of you off and your shitty ideas. Right?
All right, Scott, do we want any jumping, or are we good with the order as is?
I'm just going to go. All right. So this is a history action. The Shatterfall was a catastrophic event that reshaped the largest known aether cavern in the Aether Deep, transforming what was once an expansive crystalline cathedral into a sprawling, treacherous maze of fractured passages and jagged cliffs. Believed to have occurred roughly 3 centuries ago, the collapse sent shockwaves through the subterranean world, altering the delicate balance of magic and ecology within the cavern and the surrounding networks. The Shadowfall was also the event credited with the fall of the Korak expedition, a legendary group responsible for the majority of the known maps of the Aether Deep.
Mhm. This is an interesting addition, as it's going to largely align with something that I am adding. Very nice, Scott.
And of course, it's open.
There are a sect of those who live in the Aether Deep who viewed the Shatterfall as almost like the reckoning, and they were left behind. They viewed it as this cataclysmic, world-ending event, and they were unlucky enough to survive it. And that, for most, means they are trying to find a way to be worthy of passing on with the next event. And for some, it means they're already damned. They do what they want.
You can almost see them trying to intentionally cause another cave-in or whatever. I guess it's not really cave-ins there because gravity works a little different, right? So, but some other kind of a catastrophic event so that they could join those that were fortunate enough, I guess, to have moved on.
It's a twisted mindset, but they view it as
cult.
It's a
cult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to bring a cult in somewhere.
Sure.
Hey, Scott.
Sure.
What did you call those maps? The people that were making the maps. What are they called again?
I called it the Korak expedition.
Okay. So the Korak expedition is still ongoing. It's very small, and many of those that are children of those who originally worked on the expedition have diverted off and just become guides throughout, because they're like, why should we even bother? Because another Shatterfall could happen. Well, then the others that have stayed and continued to try and keep the expedition, the group that it's become, almost like a cultural group together, continue to try and redevelop the maps and relearn and grow and map out the Aether Deep as it once was, because they recall or have heard stories that have been passed down of what the maps and the knowledge that they used to obtain was and how valuable it was. So there's like two dividing forces that are like, no, we're just going to live our lives. We're going to take people where they need to go. We know what we need to know. And they often are rude and crude to the expedition group that are going around trying to map this out. So it's almost like an ongoing turf war of, who's right and who's wrong. Like, should we continue mapping or should we just live, if you'd like.
So I saw the expedition being like a massive state-sponsored endeavor, right? That there was significant resources applied to creating this expedition to go map this area, largely because they wanted to understand what natural resources could then be taken out of the Aether Deep. So this Shatterfall that effectively squashed the expedition certainly could have splinter groups that still try to meet that same original goal, but it would, at this point, it would have been considered a horrific failure because what came out of it was death and no actual return on the investment. So it's no longer state sponsored, I would think, at that point.
Yeah, it's supposedly like those that are continuing on and like trying to carry on the expedition are doing it for the the value that it would bring to like the ancestors that perished, in a sense. Like it's a I'm trying to think what it would be considered. Like it's honor
like,
bound, maybe.
It's like what's his face from Atlantis, because he's chasing the thing that his father was researching for so many years.
Yeah, exactly. And so it just continues passing on.
Yeah, and maybe even the original mission has gotten a little muddied along the way.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's what I was thinking, something like that. So I thought that would be kind of cool.
Makes sense.
I would love to branch off and make like a cultural thing where there's like a kid's nursery rhyme. It's similar to like Ring Around the Rosie, but it's the Shatterfall. And it's kind of used as a tactic amongst parents and, just in communities to be like, don't adventure too
Like
deep.
the boogie monster.
Yeah, don't
It's a
adventure
cautionary
too
tale with a pithy rhyme. Yeah.
Oh my god, that means there's a Baba Yaga of the Aether Deep.
Probably.
I can't wait to hear Nick's accent. It'd be great.
We're just forcing you to
it's me,
get so many
the
more
Baba
accents.
Yaga.
Oh my god.
That's great.
Gotten one.
Love it.
Just gonna add more and more ridiculous things to see what accents Nick can pull out.
I really was going to say my familiar only speaks in rhyme just to tick Nick off, but
Oh god.
Do it, you coward.
He'll just use that as a tool against you,
I
Scott.
know. He
Okay,
would.
you think I can't?
Please, I
think I
want
do
that
couplets.
to happen. I need
All right.
I need the soliloquies of Nick to be rhymed.
done.
It's going to be a lot of shit rhymes on the
The
spot.
Nick sonnets. We have to record them all, and they're all the sonnets.
Other ideas for Shatterfall?
There is, within the Aether Deep, not outside of the cult that thinks the Shatterfall was a good thing. The Shatterfall is like a national day of mourning that marks it every year.
Certainly.
Makes sense. Maybe we can even say that the Shatterfall occurred with some celestial alignment.
Hmm.
Oh man, did it match up with like a triple full moon up in Kararoa?
Yep.
How would they know? They're
You
underground.
You can hear about it on the
Above grounders.
frontier.
The Frontier Dispatch, baby.
That's dispatch.
I love it.
There's a whole section on news, rumors, and myths.
It's all coming together.
I cannot wait to see what the lifestyle section of the Frontier Dispatch is.
I want to see the classifieds. That'll be interesting.
Awesome. Okay.
This is
Are
gonna
we
be
ready?
the new fanfic that we write. It's just gonna be
Right.
like episodes of the Frontier Dispatch issues.
Post a weekly episode up on the website, right?
Oh wow.
Are we ready to go to our next action?
Yep.
All right, then, Ruby. The floor is yours.
So I'm going to take an ecological action. Crystal devours. Within the Aether Deep, there are crystals that have legs that run around and eat other crystals.
Oh, baller.
And many of those who reside within the Aether Deep, such as the what are they called? The
Polydons.
the Collidons. They call them gym puppies, and will feed them crystals. So you'll often see the younger children trying to coax the little crystal devourers. And the thing about the crystal devourers is they're not mean. They don't actively attack other humanoid type creatures. They often will be here. You'll hear little in the crystal caverns, and many adventurers get scared because they run along the ceiling and around the walls, and they almost are like spider-like. But they don't actually. They're not spiders, but they can like run anywhere that crystals are. And so they'll be running in and out, but they eat and devour crystals. And unless you attack them, they will just hang around you. So think about, so you remember Star Wars when they filmed Luke on the island and they made those little pigeony things and they were everywhere?
Borgs.
Yeah. And the fact that they had to change them and like make them something Star Wars related, because in reality on that
They were
island,
puffins.
the puffins were everywhere.
Yeah.
Imagine the puffins are everywhere. The crystal devours, the gym puppies are everywhere. And they come in so many different colors.
Are they
And
like
they-
cockroaches?
No, the thing is, like, they're not invasive or anything. And like they're not mean. But I would say that one thing is they eat a certain amount of crystal and then they just merge into the other crystals and become an even like more brilliant crystal or something.
Is
like, it's
there
their
like
lifespan.
a size range? Are they like bug or are they like dog? What?
The largest you will see will be dog-sized, and that's rare.
Okay.
And those are usually the ones that are further in the ether deep and caverns that have been cut off from others. What you'll see around many of the settlements will be like the little small ones that are like kitten or little tiny puppy sized. And then you'll see the really tiny ones are the cockroach ones that often get squished. And many don't, like, nobody cares because there are so many of them. Like, if you accidentally step on a little intellect devourer that's running underfoot, it's fine. It's just crushed crystal. You can sweep it up and do it with.
Would an effigy eat one?
Yeah, probably.
We'll find out.
I mean, you know, there might be some myths or some.
I guess that's actually a Nick question. Does crystal count as stone?
Do they taste like rock candy?
Crystal and stone I would classify as different substances.
Okay.
So maybe that's like an exotic fare for
Oh.
for an
And
effigy.
maybe there's rumors
treat.
that maybe there's like poking fun of the upper worlders in Wyrdgard when they come into the ether deep. It's like, yeah, eat a little crystal devour, eat a gem puppy, see what happens. Because if the others see you eating one,
it though.
if the
It's like
others see you,
saffron.
yeah, if the others see you eating it, like other crystal devourers see you, they just like swarm and they're like, like you get surrounded by them. I don't know, something silly like that. I just wanted a silly little creature that's running around making
Silly little creature.
everybody
Like how when you kill cockroaches, the like pheromone and they more come looking for the one.
yeah, like if you kill an ant, then 5 other ants appear wondering why the ant died type situation. Yeah.
So what is
like
the mechanism for locomotion in this zero gravity space? It wouldn't
So-
be legs, right?
Yeah, so I was going to say something like that a lot of life would have evolved to, without the need for like a traditional limb in that sense. So I mean, it's imagine the sort of structures that you would see underwater, propelling yourself with flippers or with flagella, things like that. So perhaps the gem puppies, if you like the idea of having a lot.
Flat eels that like wave to swim.
Yeah.
I would say there'd be multiple kinds then. So you could have the ones that move like eels through the water, and then you have the ones that are like almost octopusy, that like have like little tentacles that like they
Kind of
push
octopus.
through
Crab-ish.
the water.
That
Yeah.
crawl along.
And then
Now
there's
we-
the
now we know
other
the
ones
name.
that are crab-like, the bigger
Officially
ones.
octopuses now.
And as you get bigger in it, you can just kind of improvise on what they would look like as they've gotten larger. Because like it's so rare to see one bigger than like that big.
Oh
Like,
man,
The
Ruby's
ones that
giving
are
us
this big are
massive
like
anglerfish deep sea monsters now.
yeah, they're hidden within the ether deep somewhere, and nobody really even believes that the little gem puppies, the crystal devourers, are actually devourer looking and that big and huge in a sense. Most often called gem puppies, but truthfully, like the correct name is they are crystal devourers.
I like them. All right, Snash.
All right, I'm coming in hot with another creature.
Coming in hot with another creature.
All right.
Love the creature, love it.
Oh yeah, he's so cute. They're so cute. These guys are called dream eaters.
Man, I'm real glad I don't sleep now.
Yo,
That's what you think.
so you think. So a dream eater is in itself not super scary. Unfortunately, they travel in full colonies. So essentially, if you're in the Aether Deep, you want to have someone on watch. Because if a colony of dream eaters come across your group at night, they will land and cover your body. And what they do is they land and they invade your dreams. And they siphon the joy from your dreams into themselves and leave you weak. Essentially, if you get a colony big enough, they could take your hit point maximum and put it in half if they sleep on you. But they're not that hard to kill. I'm trying to think what else. They're cute. They're super fucking cute.
They're really cute.
They're another prehistoric creature.
Love them. Super cute.
I'll leave
They
them
look like the
open,
tiny little raptors.
right?
They kind of remind me of sugar gliders, just a little bit, but like obviously like
That's what I
Yeah.
thought too.
bigger.
They remind me if you put a frog and a sugar glider together.
It's a
Yeah.
frog and a bat. Yeah.
Frog bat sugar
Oh.
glider.
Are these open to add something?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Because you said they're like bats. So guano is toxic to the human brain in large quantities. Dream eater poop, similarly, would be toxic to sentient brains in large quantities if you didn't know you were around it.
So in a no gravity situation, where does the poop go? It doesn't
Has-
just collect somewhere, right?
Well,
It'll-
I would assume that they nest, right? like bats
nest
do.
on the ceiling and stuff.
On the side, so it would probably be like a slimy
Like collected,
substance,
like
like a,
stalactite on whatever surface they were nesting on,
have you ever
not
seen
willing
a have you ever seen a bird's nest? How the poop is just like
dripping.
caked
Sure.
on it. Yeah, that's
It's not quite that there's no gravity here. Like there is still gravity, but I want you to imagine basically like breathable ocean. So you can move through it as you would through water. So things will still eventually like settle, but you can keep yourself aloft with by expending some.
Is the transition between normal surface gravity to the aether deeps more water-like, is that immediate or is it gradual?
So it would be like a pretty like stark transition.
Okay.
Like you're diving in.
Just
I
as
was
if
just
like
gonna
if
say-
you're diving in.
That's actually going
if
to...
there's like a giant canyon right into the aether deep. You could jump from the top.
That's one of
land
my
in,
actions.
and then it would just start.
I called it ground falling. Surface dwelling adrenaline junkies dive into open entrances into the aether deep for sport.
Nice.
Yeah.
I
Hell
love
yeah.
that.
It's like bungee jumping.
Right.
Mhm.
What did you call it, Scott?
I called it ground falling.
Ground falling. Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
I like that. I like the little dream eaters too. These are
The
cute.
dream eaters are adorable.
The little baby.
Maybe instead of like a toxic thing with the poop, like bats, it's a psychic effect. And if you're
Yeah.
around it, the longer you're around it without like solving the problem, it
Hold on.
starts giving you like
Psychic damage.
it,
So-
but like PTSD almost. Like
What-
it gives you like
It's like a walking nightmare almost.
Yeah.
Like little,
What if the thing to do is to lick the poop?
Ah,
Because
it's an
No.
hallucinogen? Is that
Yeah.
what you're trying to say?
oh
Yeah,
my
it's like-
god,
it's like a-
yes. It's like a cigarette cactus.
Listen, dream eaters siphon the joy from your dreams, right?
oh, so it's
And then they
Out of the
poop it
poop.
out, so it's like an acid
I
trip
don't
of
like that.
Oh my
happiness,
god.
but it only lasts
Yes.
briefly.
And but like if you do it too much, like
Yeah,
it's
it
real
fucks
bad.
you up.
But yeah,
If you
Okay.
get too big of a
I
hit,
like
it
this.
fucks you
so,
up.
so people microdose
Microdose,
on
dream eater shit.
dream eater shit. Oh, fun.
Nice.
Oh.
Love it.
So would an effigy sink in the aether deep?
So yeah, I imagine like it would require them more efforts to keep themselves like aloft. So they're not quite as like dense or heavy as non-awakened stone. So they
is
could
it like moon gravity where it's like just less of the Earth's?
I just have an image of an effigy
it's-
with a rope holding everybody down like an anchor.
Right.
I will be.
Yeah, I
right
mean,
there,
It is like
more-
kites in the
walking
wind.
along.
So they would have eventually, yeah, they would be sinking faster than others, certainly.
Yeah, that's true. Mm.
But I've got like 100 logistical questions. Like, so if somebody
You're
cast,
probably not going to see a ton of Ephigeans in the Ether Deep without some, steps taken to make their experience less of a free fall.
Yeah.
I
And
don't know
do
if I want to go
Teorans
into the
float?
Ether Deep
Does
now.
wood float?
It's
So
not water
Yeah,
necessarily.
I was just wondering in general, do Teorans float?
I mean, I would hope so.
I would think, just as basically any living species can float. I don't think that they are like they have to float. It's that they
They're not
that
more
they
floaty.
can't explore. No,
Gotcha.
so
Gotcha. Cool.
do we want to add anything to the ground falling?
I like to think that for an extra rush, you tie an effigy into a rope and throw him down first, and then you go.
Oh God.
It's like a double ground
It's
fall.
like inverse bungee jumping. Right?
Yeah.
Nice.
There's definitely kids who have done it.
There goes my attempt at this noble, proud race.
Oh dear.
You're an anchor now.
Yeah.
Oh, love it.
Hey man, do you want some soul puppy candy? All you have to do is tie a rope to yourself and jump in, and we'll tie a rope to ourselves too.
I mean,
that worked exactly one time and then never again.
yeah, I don't see that being something a lot of Ephigeans are convinced of.
So, Matilda, you are last in our initiative here and have yet to take an action in the Ether Deep. What would you like to add?
Okay, this kind of ties in with Scott's thing. So he mentioned with the Shatterfall, and that we came up with the whole thing up there. People still seeking to maybe cause that again. There are places scattered throughout the Aether Deep. Essentially black holes. Very rare. Harder, like, just, it's not, there is no bottom. There is no power sensed within it. Nothing has gone in and come out. There are these dark places, and if you get too close to them, there are these horrible voices that will whisper out to you in this nightmarish fashion. Some of the cult from Scott's thing with the Shatterfall believe that these are keys to causing another. Several of them have definitely gone in and never come out. Some of them have gotten very close and attempted to go about preaching the what they heard, the nonsense, the horrors, the string of insane words that they heard when they got too close to these black holes within the Aether Deep. This is open to add also.
Can I selfishly close it?
Sure.
Because the two of you basically we meld those together and we get
Sure,
mine.
just say it's not open. I like the idea that there are places within the Aether Deep that are
Oh yeah.
too dark, too old, pre-deluge for sure.
Too old.
No
Absolutely.
one quite knows.
Okay. So since we are closing that one, do we have other actions that we want to take here in the Aether Deep? Okay, then I will share with you mine. Predating the Shatterfall in the Aether Deep was an event that's, up until the Shatterfall, would have been classified as the most significant cultural event since the Deluge. And while it lasted only 99 seconds, the tone utterly changed the fabric of reality in the Ether Deep. The 8 pillars of the Ether Deep are expansive, towering, natural crystalline monoliths, one for each of the 8 principal crystals, at least those that have been discovered. Scattered throughout the depths of the continent, and they had always inspired awe and wonder among the Kaleidons. After untold centuries of reverent study and fantastical theorizing, the pillars spontaneously entered harmonic resonance. And the tone, as they aptly dubbed it, the synchronized hum of the great pillars, could be heard throughout the Ether Deep and for dozens of miles all along the surface. As it reverberated, crystal forests bloomed, the Kaleidon's magic surged, and, most curious of all, rifts, voids, emptiness appeared throughout the Ether Deep. Great tears of vacuous nothingness in the Ether Deep. And some, guided by faith or intrepid curiosity or mere whim, entered. And as Matilda told us, none returned. Nothing returns from the void. And when the resonance ended and the tone faded, some of the rifts closed, solidified, shattered, and scattered. But the voyagers who entered were lost forever, and other voids remained. Not long after this fact, a group calling themselves the Echo Keepers emerged and quickly rose to near unilateral political prominence throughout the Ether Deep. They created the Korak expedition with the intent of surveying the depths of the Ether Deep to chart the locations of these voids, as well as to recover any remnants of those rifts that did close. Because perhaps recovering them and reforming them would unlock the understanding of those that remained, deciphering the mysteries of them and the pillars and their harmonic resonance. But after Shatterfall and the tragedy that became of this expedition, the Kaleidons are left reeling, what to do, how to proceed. Where do these voids lead, if anywhere? What became of those who entered? Could they possibly be returned? And is it worth the cost to continue to investigate? So yeah, you two.
My action was your.
Yeah, more or less.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you all for your awesome ideas, your contributions. It is wonderful to all of the cool ideas that I would have never in a million years come up with, and to see the things that we were able to turn them into through those back and forths. Those of you who watched at home, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully now you have a better understanding of Wyrdgard. I know I sure do. And I hope you all had some fun in doing this.
Sure did. Yeah.
Definitely.
This was a lot of fun. Thank you for inviting us to be part of the creation of this. This is fabulous.
Genuinely, thank you. I've had so much fun just living in this world already in my head.
Oh yeah, right. The ideas are just booming at this point.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, next week is Christmas, so we are not going to be streaming, but we'll be thinking about you, winners. And we will
New Year?
see you in the new year, where you'll get to meet
Doing
our new cast of characters.
Our new cast and characters, yeah, in the new year, right? So
Yep.
we're starting.
Yep.
Heck yeah.
And happy holidays.
Indeed.
Merry Christmas, happy holidays.
All right, well, bye. That's us.
Stream.
Later.
That's why I need
Guys,
somebody
okay.
else to stop.
Hmm.